Not yet. We're gonna need the keys tomorrow. Yeah, Saturday or Sunday.
Probably Saturday.
Yeah. So yeah, we went to IKEA and bought a table and tried to bring it home in the Lancer.
Nice. Did you get it home in the Lancer?
We did.
Nice.
It was an experience.
That was not a wee effort.
Aaron had to engineer it. It was a little crazy.
Did it right on the hood with like one
No,
each person, like with an arm out?
It was in the middle of my car, literally.
Long ways.
Oh, I got
Separating
you.
Driver and passenger.
Yeah, so you can't see your other mirrors. Or, yeah.
Anything.
Am I clear on that side?
But it'll be our new recording table.
Hell yeah.
It's got a little bit more space for all of us. So.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, we're live already.
Cool.
I did that. Now I'm gonna test the audio.
Yep, do that.
So let's start now.
Yep. So, not soon, but in the near future, we may end up doing it on a weekend or something. We may do a boss room where we talk about the evolution of Destiny, where it came from. Where like I want to go to historicals. We have one of our people in our Discord, Wolf, who's really into all that, and so he would like to come in for a show.
Being rather quiet or something.
He'd like to come in for a show and kind of just talk about that. 'Cause he's really into the community.
Yeah.
And I figure like you and I are kind of outsiders to it.
Yeah.
So like we usually like minimize the amount of Destiny talk on the show, and this is the one chance to kind of just blow it up and be like, if now's the time to talk about it because of all the shit going on.
And that's the thing, is like
We
a lot of
literally
the...
have been talking about not necessarily doing that, but all of this shit every time we talk to each other.
Right.
I think the thing about Destiny that makes it at all successful is by the strength of fans like Tony, and there's a lot of them. I mean, when you think about Destiny, I automatically think about its fan base more than anything else about it.
It's
because...
literally what keeps it alive. And I think that's the one failing that a lot of companies aren't seeing when they're launching broken products. Like when Fallout 76 launched that broken, it instantly people got, or at least the company-wide thought to themselves, oh, well, you know, it worked for Bungie, we can do it. But what they don't understand is that having that ingrained fan base, like, it's different. And yes, Fallout has a giant fan base, but they aren't the ones that are going to be sticking around for a Fallout MMO. They're the ones waiting for Fallout 5.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. You can only fuck up so hard too. I mean, Anthem had a pretty good fan base before it started.
It did. They had an absolutely fantastic fan base, but what they did is botched the launch product, and they became sketchy with their community after that,
they did.
is the problem. They became very sketchy with their community.
I don't think they were prepared for how much people were going to dislike the game.
Right.
They
people
for some reason they didn't.
People
see
were
the
looking for
horrible
an
flaws.
alternative to Destiny, and what they found is now they just have Destiny.
Yeah.
So,
Which I meant
Yeah,
to
that
talk
one
to you
guy's
about that.
one guy's like sales thing came out that as outside of Call of Duty, Destiny is now the highest money making first person shooter of like all time
That
as a
wouldn't
franchise.
surprise me at
that
all.
wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, weirdly going free to play.
Well, I was just about to ask you about that. It's moving to Steam tomorrow.
Actually, right now
It's
it's already on
oh,
Steam.
It's actually like the top selling game on Steam right now.
Yeah, should we do this on the show or
No,
Okay.
this is for
I
later.
mean, we're live right now.
Yeah,
so.
that's fine. I'm meaning to ask you. So I'm thinking about picking it back up on Steam, and I'm either going to, because I'm not going to do both at once, because I just fool me once. I can either buy the new content for the new expansion, or for a little bit less, get the Forsaken stuff and start there.
You want to start with the new stuff.
Okay, that's kinda what I figured.
The Forsaken stuff is
If I decide to
entirely
go-
all old now.
If I decide to go back to it,
Yeah,
it's
if you
like
want to
20
go back
bucks later.
if you want to go back and get it, all you're gonna have to do is buy Forsaken.
Yeah.
and you get the whole year of shit, which is great. If you are looking at the price difference between the two versions that are currently up there,
Oh yeah, it's like
So there's-
it's like $20 for Forsaken and like 35 for
yeah,
the
that's
whatever it
the
is
that's
the
for
new one.
Shadowkeep. And that
Shadowkeep,
Shadowkeep comes whenever season you buy Shadowkeep, you get that season for free.
Cool.
Is all our information correct on Twitch?
I did not check that one, so let me check.
That's the one that
I was too more worried about the other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
no, it did not update with the go live notification, but I'm guessing that's already done.
So yeah, I can get all the Shadowkeep stuff and just start from right there where it begins and not worry about anything.
Yeah, if you have a character that you already have done,
Yeah, my Blizzard characters already got merged.
yeah, if you merged it over, everything that you own is now $750. If you were in the middle of any of the storylines, like if you say you didn't finish the Destiny
Oh, that's
1
what I heard.
base
I don't think
campaign,
I finished Osiris. I think I got real close.
then
but,
that's going to be reset.
but I'm never gonna do that content again. It wasn't good.
They
you will.
made
There's
an
now a
abbreviated version of it.
curated version of the overall Destiny
Oh.
1 or Destiny
Year one.
storyline to where they've designed it to where after about 2 to 3 hours, you understand how the game works, enough of the storyline, and you could possibly be ready to start tackling in-game activities, or at least the newest stuff that's come out.
Okay.
So it's to give you that refresher course.
That seems simple enough.
You can start directly on the character you have, or start a brand new one. I mean, that's up to you.
Yeah, no,
But
I don't think I
the
need to do the
$60
whole campaign
one
again.
is for just pre-ordering the entire year
Right.
of content, and the $35 one is
Everything new
Shadowkeep
coming out now.
and the
base game.
and the one season.
Yeah.
So you save $5 if you buy the $60 one versus paying for every season individually, because those
Right.
are going to be $10 each. The cool thing about the way seasons go from now on, outside of Shadowkeep, the expansion, every season works on every single platform. So if you buy it once, you get it on PlayStation and
that's
Xbox and PC.
That's neat.
Shadowkeep, on the other hand, doesn't. You have to buy that section of game separately.
Gotcha.
Because the way the stores work, they can't share that.
Right.
But they can share the other stuff because it's
I think
considered an
maybe-
in-game purchase.
Too many people might take advantage of that. I think they'd lose sales from all the people. Like I said,
They're
fan
gaining
base.
a lot of sales from people who are buying it on PlayStation
Yeah.
and Xbox and on PC.
Exactly, because a
just
lot
to
of
play
people
the
do
Shadowkeep
what
stuff.
you did. Is you have those friends over here, and you have these friends on PC.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's what I had to tell Wolf and everybody on PC. I was like, look, I don't have money to get this on PC. Like, I'll play with you later. But the seasonal content, I can play with you. I just can't go do the raid with you yet
Yeah.
until we can get there.
Move us back over to main chat and let's get the show started.
All right.
Isn't it the same price, like on PC and on Xbox?
Yeah, it's 35.
Okay, but you just
35 and 60.
you just
Doesn't
went
matter.
with the Xbox and just were like done.
Yeah, because I play with my friends on Xbox more than I do play with people on PC. I prefer playing on PC, but my clan and everybody is on Xbox. So I can actually go do raids and do shit with
Yeah,
them.
you actually
Once
have
once
a group.
cross-platform is introduced, then
Which that is something they said that they're still looking forward to working on in the future.
That would be pretty good.
They're like, we're not throwing that out on the table, but we do want to talk about that.
Yeah, that way it could just be like, Tony, join up and run me through some shit.
Yeah, literally wherever. And we're getting closer to that future. The more games like Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we will definitely be talking about Call of Duty later. All right, let's jump in and do this. Sony and Microsoft made huge announcements this week, and we can't wait to talk about them. Adventurers, gear up for an all-new episode. Greetings, adventurers, and welcome to the show. We are the Surly Nerd, your one-stop shop for geek news that might have flown under your radar over the last week. I'm your host, James, and sitting across from me is the producer of this fine show, Tony.
Hey!
With us, as always, our third chair host, Hector.
Howdy.
And if you're new to the show, hey, welcome. This week we'll be talking about all the things that Sony and Microsoft showed us during the last week during their online presentations. But before that, we have all the news that's fit to rant about for your ears. Don't forget that you can keep connected with us through thesurlynerd.com. You can follow us on all social media platforms and even donate to the show. Every penny donated goes right back into the show that we make for you every week. With all that out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, adventurers of all ages, it's time for The Prelude.
My fucking neck hurts. Prelude.
All right, this is The Prelude. This is what we've been doing with ourselves this week, what we've been playing, what we've been watching, what's been occupying our free time. That being said, I do want to let everybody know right here at the intro to the show, we will be taking next week off. We've got a house and a new studio that we've got to build out so that we can do more live streaming, more content for y'all. It's going to be a lot of things that we're working on in the background, so we'll be taking 1 week off. That'll be next week, and then we'll be right back to the show that we make for you. Hector, what did you do this week?
Not a lot, actually. I've been playing a lot of Overwatch. It's
Yeah.
kind of just drilling into all my video game time.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Welcome back.
yeah, exactly. I didn't watch a ton of TV either.
It's weird because everything started this week.
Yeah, and that's probably why I just didn't tackle anything. And I think there's a whole season of Preacher I just missed that I need to watch now.
Yeah, I started the first 2 or 3 episodes
the
of
last
Preacher, and I was like,
Yeah,
you know
it's the
what?
last season, and the last episode aired last night.
Yeah.
So we're done.
Now that it's all done, I'm gonna sit down and just power through it and have a crazy Preacher night.
Yeah, I'm up to everything except for this last season, so I'm good there. But the notables that I have for this week are both hilarious. I had kind of a stupid movie night with a friend of mine, and we watched both Hobbs and Shaw and Crawl.
What's Crawl?
Okay, so you might have seen a trailer for Crawl if you watch any Twitch. It's a movie about a storm with angry alligators in it.
Wow.
It could have been called Gator NATO, and it would have been great.
Wow.
But it's just Crawl.
This sounds horrible.
Yeah. Oh my God, is it though? Like,
You're
and
saying that
was
like in the best way.
Yeah, no, it was. That's the thing. These two movies were both incredibly stupid in their own way, but also both very fun.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was kind of like that's the mood we were in. So we really got what we were looking for. Hobbs and Shaw was fucking ridiculous.
I was going to
And I'm
ask you
saying
about that because I love the Fast and Furious movies, and this took the two actors, let's just say, that weren't getting along with everybody else and made them have their own movie franchise. They're like, you get the spinoffs because everybody's tired of working with you,
Yeah.
and everybody else is going to go over here and do more Fast and the Furious.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They very much make this movie about that, about like the main characters not liking each other. So I feel like they had a lot of fun filming it, like they always do. Now this movie is ridiculous for a Fast and the Furious movie.
Which is saying a lot because
It is saying so much.
they
but
jumped the
that's not-
car from like a 70-story building into another 70-story building.
Oh yeah,
at one
and like
point.
to steal something as they went
Yeah.
through this. Yeah, yeah.
It was-
so. Yeah, in
Wow.
this movie, Idris Elba is basically Black Superman, and he's being fought just by The Rock and Jason Statham. They're not. They're just The Rock and Jason.
Can we just have
Statham.
Idris Elba actually be Superman? I'd be super
God, I
on
would
board with
love
that.
that. But yeah, no, the movie was fun. It was fun to watch. It was stupid, but it never took itself seriously. Which
But you
was
enjoyed
good.
it.
I enjoyed it a lot.
Right.
Crawl was less impressive, but
Yeah.
Equally as stupid.
Well, yeah. At that point, I was probably like 4 or 5 drinks in, and so like the
Didn't care.
The stupidness didn't catch. It was just like, that alligator's gonna eat her. Oh, it did it! Yeah, that was watching that.
Oh, he's
movie.
gonna get her. Oh, he got her good.
Let's see here. You and I both watched the Overwatch Grand Finals.
We did, yeah. San
Con-
Francisco Shock.
Congratulations to the San Francisco Shock for coming out of the losers bracket and beating the Vancouver Titans, who were like the team to beat. They were essentially unstoppable in the Overwatch League.
But they beat them soundly.
Oh, and they beat them so hard. Like, it was just like, get wrecked by America.
Yeah, those first 2 maps were just an outright spanking. Like, and then they kind of started to even off a little bit, but they still just took every map. It was hilarious.
It was really surprising to sit down and watch that. And then, they were going to play like 7 maps. And I was like, oh man, this is going to be a back and forth. This is going to be like a 4-hour Overwatch
I was going to say, they might
experience.
go to like 14 games or something.
And it was just like, nope, they just put a pin in that real quick, didn't they?
Yeah, it was just over.
Yeah. Tony, what did you do this week?
Well, a bunch of TV shows started up, so I've just been like kind of getting first episodes of seasons.
Right.
Like fresh off the boat started. I
Okay.
still love that show. It's fun. They get to like have the talk with like the youngest kid, and it's fucking great. Let's see. The Connors came back on. There was a show that I was worried that was going to get canceled because once they kicked Roseanne off,
Right.
and they had to reset.
But it still had John Goodman, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
so that's John Goodman.
Yeah.
Which, speaking of John Goodman, the Righteous Gemstones on HBO, still fucking funny.
I need to watch
I've been
that.
thinking about checking that
It's
out, yeah.
if you like Eastbound and Down, you will probably like this show.
Well,
if you
I
don't
love
like
Walton
that style,
Goggins is my thing.
then you might like this show.
Yeah, I love Walton Goggins.
But I've been loving that. I'm trying to remember all the other shows that like just started out.
Yeah.
Fucking blah.
But see, the
Good
CW
radio there.
Yeah.
Trying to
CW
remember.
stuff
Oh,
hasn't
Good
come back
Place.
yet.
Yeah, CW hasn't come out yet.
It's like next week.
Yeah.
But The Good Place started its new season.
Yeah.
I went back and rewatched the last 2 episodes of Good Place so I could remember what the hell happened because that show's fucking insane.
Yeah, it is.
And new season started up and immediately still love that show. I think it's the most brilliant thing on television and
is.
for years.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Live action for sure.
Let's see here. Over on my side of the world, I finished Wolfenstein 2.
Nice.
Absolutely fantastic game. Cannot recommend it enough. Devil May Cry 5. Played through that. It's been a long time, by the way, since it's been a long time since I just burned through an entire game in a weekend.
I was going to say, when's the last time you played a spectacle fighter, though?
Right, that's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, Devil May Cry 5, had it on Xbox Game Pass, loaded it up, and by the end of the weekend, I was done with it.
Nice.
And I do not say that in a negative sense. Like, I finished it and wanted to play more Devil May Cry. Like, it was just like, oh, there's more stuff to do, I can go do that. And I really just burned through it because I wanted to, start a game, start to finish with what free time I had. And it didn't disappoint. It's everything I wanted in a Devil May Cry game. It's even more Devil May Cry than most Devil May Cry games.
Nice.
Like, it's so over the top in, like, the way you were talking about Hobbs and Shaw and how it just embraces the like ridiculousness of it.
Yeah.
Like in Devil May Cry 5, the upgrade system is a van that the person, the young lady who works in the van, she's like a machinist and she like makes all these cool gadgets and stuff. But the thing is that to summon her, you have to find a phone booth and you call her and then she shows up. That's already a little ridiculous. It gets more ridiculous because they put themselves intentionally in situations for it to be hilarious. You'll just be like, you'd think, okay, in the middle of a cathedral, all right, and then she like drops out of the ceiling, and then you're like in the middle of like this demonic tomb that there's no possible way that she could find a way into.
Also, why the fuck's there a phone booth in a demonic tomb?
Right, it's
like
ridiculous.
that alone doesn't make any sense.
It's ridiculous, and she'll just like show up out of the floor. And you're just like, what? And like that's the thing is that you don't always need to upgrade your character, but every single one of these phone booths has its own unique like her entrance. And
so you just want to pull her out.
Yeah,
every time.
you want to like stop and make
stop
her
by just to like, hey, how's it going? You just showed up out of the ground. That's,
right. It's so
how did
ridiculous.
you get there?
Right. And the van's like never damaged. You know, it's the whole thing fully embraces the silliness and the campiness of what it is to be Devil May Cry and the overtopness of Devil May Cry and how stylish it is, while actually letting you feel like you're a part of the action. One of the things I kind of want to bring up about Devil May Cry 5, if you have any interest in it whatsoever, but you haven't played a previous one, aside from the fact it gives you a movie to run you through the story to that point, is in Devil May Cry 5, something that Capcom has done really well with this game is accessibility.
Okay.
And I really want to put a bullet point on that word accessibility, because the moment I say that and I say Devil May Cry 5 or Devil May Cry, fanboys pucker their butthole immediately.
Oh, yeah.
The first thing they think is, oh, you made Devil May Cry easier. Devil May Cry 5 is not easier, but it is more accessible.
Okay.
The combos feel easier to execute. It's more forgiving of you when you mess up a combo. Like in Devil May Cry 1, if you missed a slash, like your rating went away.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't work that way anymore. It makes it where the characters themselves feel very accessible. The new character of V, he's got summon monsters. And at the outset when you play him, you're like, oh, well, it's just press X to win. Because you don't actually engage in the combat. You're telling your animals to do it. But as you open up his skill tree, he becomes so much more intricate in the way that he maneuvers around the battlefield and handles his summons. And you can pull off some really cool stuff, but it's really advanced. It's just not forward, back, fireball. It's not fireball motion punch. It's knowing how to time each of your attacks and what you're doing with them, especially because you're juggling 3 summons at any given time. But accessibility really is the key here. I felt like as a veteran going into it that I could pick up and play and not have to spend a lot of hours mastering it the way that I did the previous Devil May Cries. And I don't mean that in a negative way. It was nice to be able to play a game that I loved and a franchise that I loved and have the accessibility to play it but not feel like I'm beating my head against the wall. Now, I do have my last talking point about it is the gold orb system. So the gold orbs in the games are your continues. So if you die... it's again that's that accessibility. If you die on a boss, like in Devil May Cry 3, like I fought Virgil for probably like 2 days straight.
Oh yeah,
because it was die and reset. The Gold Orb system is in place to let you continue in the middle of the fight where you left off. Just instantly heal, continue. And at first, I didn't know what to think about it because I'm not used to it. I'm like not in my Devil May Cry, right? Like I'm a hardcore Devil May Cry player.
Yeah.
And they give you a pretty good chunk of them. Like they're just like laying around and you can get them. You can accrue them. By the end of the game, I had like 15 or something like that. So it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
I do disagree with the fact that you can buy them. And
like real world money.
Yeah, that you can actually buy them with the real world money, and that you can buy red orbs, which are your upgrades for real world money. I dislike that, but I ended up actually liking the continue aspect of the game. Yes, it quote unquote makes things easier, but it was like 8 o'clock on a Sunday, and I knew that I needed to make dinner, and I was at the last boss, and like I died, and I'm like my options are restart, like because I'm hardcore, or press that fucking continue button of all the gold orbs I've been accruing, and I was like, fuck it, hit that continue button, let's go. And so I don't feel that my experience was diminished for using those. If you want to be a hardcore Devil May Cry player, don't ever use them. You don't have to. It doesn't affect your score. It doesn't matter. But I think that accessibility is key here, and what Devil May Cry 5 brings to the table is just a really fun, entertaining way to spend a weekend and not feel like you had to play all the previous entries in the franchise to understand what's going on.
Nice. That sounds like a good time.
Yeah. All right, that's everything that we have for the Prelude this week. We're going to take a small break. When we come back, we'll be going into our main news segment in the Weekly Raid.
It's still fun. It's never not going to be fun.
Yeah.
Until I make more of them.
Yeah. Then you have to pick one.
Just have them all go at once. Or just one right after the other. It just turns into 3 hours of
Star
swiping
wipe.
things.
Swipe to the right. Laser swipe. I don't know.
Just have a lightsaber thrown up in the air, goes whoop whoop, and changes the scene. Fuck, I could actually do that.
Yeah, you could.
I'm not doing that. That's fucking complicated.
Too much.
Sounds really complicated.
I can super
much.
do that, but like, we're not a Star Wars podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
And even if we were, I'd say it's a bit on the nose.
Right.
You do a classic just Lucas wipe. Like, because they're like,
That's what they do.
if you can go back and watch the original Star Wars movies and just watch for that, it will start to annoy the piss
oh no,
out
it's
of you.
because that it was entirely from the movies that he watched, the serialization, shorts that were in theaters
God,
when he
but
grew
I
up.
lower.
Then, because that's what they used, because it was a simple, easiest way you could cut to a scene.
Because it was like the 50s or something.
It was,
like
yeah, it
we
was
just-
things that were shot like in the 50s and 40s.
Yeah, so it's
Or
like
even
we
the-
just close the aperture from the left, and if we're getting fancy, we'll reopen it from the right so that it looks like we actually went somewhere. Imagination.
Yeah, no. So those are like, if you watch any of the Star Wars movies, even the new ones, they're still there.
Oh, yeah.
That is that's iconic piece of Star Wars, but incredibly easy to do. It's literally just a.
Oh, yeah.
But you have to have a blur whenever you go across. You can't have a smooth. It can't be a harsh line. It has to be a blur transition.
All right.
I'm also, this is out of the show, apologizing. I did not get the animation done. The fucking puppet doesn't work in the thing, and it's driving me fucking crazy. Dude, I've been spending like with a little bit of free time I have trying to get that thing to work, and it just makes me insane, and I can't get it to fucking function. Because I had it functioning, and then now it doesn't function, and I don't know what the fuck happened because I didn't change anything.
All right.
So, which sucks because I wrote a fucking script out that's supposed to come out today. It's fucking irritating. Weekly Raid.
Hey, adventurers, welcome back to the show. This is the Weekly Raid. This is our main news segment for the podcast. And for a while now, we've been kind of starting off the Weekly Raid talking about what's new in the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover for the CW. Basically,
Everything.
Every week we have an announcement. I think last week it was like the most of Smallville's coming back to
Yep.
crossover with it. We have Brandon Ruth's going to be reprising his role as Superman for this show. It's gotten more and more ridiculous. I feel like we have hit peak ridiculousness this week because every day we're finding about different DC shows that are going to be guest starring in this crossover. And now we've hit the bottom of the barrel, I think. I think we've hit the bottom of the barrel in the sense that it was announced that the main character from the 90s show Birds of Prey on the on the WB that got like a season,
Wow.
the character of the Huntress is going to be making a cameo appearance.
Wow.
And I'm just like,
Yeah.
I think we're tapped out.
I think we're done.
I think we're out of DC
Yeah, no,
characters.
when I read that, I came out and I was like, what the fuck is even going on? I don't understand this anymore. I forgot this existed.
They all have to be there. I mean, do they all just like all of these just actors have to have like one line?
I swear,
has to be.
I swear, there's gonna be both animated versions of Teen Titans showing up in this, and they're just not telling
It's
anybody.
going to happen.
And maybe even the new Teen Titans, or Titans, or
Random
whatever the fuck they're
accidental
called.
Spider-Man, like, oops, not invited.
Just get Tom Holland to show me, like, I'm
Wait.
not that guy.
Oh shit, no, I
Night
work
Monkey.
for Sony. I don't know what y'all are. Yeah, Night Monkey.
Night Monkey.
I'm the
shows
Night
up.
Monkey.
New DC character, Night Monkey. Hi,
Yeah.
guys. So, yeah. And speaking of Spider-Man, actually, if you follow us on Facebook.com/TheSolyNerd, you would have found out that, Spider-Man's back in the MCU.
Yes, he is.
For one more movie.
One more movie, but it's in talks for other stuff. They are in talks. They're having negotiations, but they are going to be doing a third Spider-Man film.
Yeah, the rumor is that what Sony got out of the deal was hopefully to have Tom Holland Spider-Man appear in some of their other franchises,
Right, like the Venom movie.
Yeah,
That's a big deal. I'm glad they can come to an amicable agreement. I think that this is just one of those things that if you're a longtime listener of the show, you know that we pretty much universally agreed something was going to give. There was just too much money. There was too much money
Yeah.
to be made here for Sony to just be like, no, you don't get Spider-Man anymore.
And Tom Holland is too good. You could ride this actor in this role for another 5 movies, no problem.
Oh, yeah,
probably.
absolutely.
That's how I felt about Andrew Garfield.
Yeah.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
You just
I really like that. Our Andrew Garfield's my favorite Spider-Man.
He was all right. He was. I liked him better than.
Oh fuck! The age that we are, this is our bond. Like, think about it. Whenever we were
It is our
younger
Bond, yeah.
and old people, we were like bitching about who their favorite Bond character was.
I can't believe
and
it's
we're
not
like,
Sean
oh,
Connery
man, you're
anymore.
right.
Timothy
Yeah.
Dalton's such a wimp. It's like,
Spider-Man.
did you just call
Spider-Man's
Timothy
our
Dalton a
fucking
wimp?
Bond. God
Yeah.
damn it.
It's hilarious.
Oh,
Which
man.
Spider-Man did you like? It's the one you grew up with, probably.
You know?
Yeah, that's ridiculous. But yeah, it's great that he's back. Everybody's been posting just yay and celebration. I think the best reaction came from Tom Holland himself, where he posted on Instagram a section of Wolf of Wall Street where he's just screaming, "I'm not fucking going anywhere."
It's Leonardo DiCaprio screaming into the fucking...
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
I love that. That's the best.
But I mean, that's not all the Spider-Man news for the week, oddly enough, because Sony's been talking about more Spider-Man spin-offs because they have the rights to all of that. They're talking about this character that I'm not as intimately familiar with, to be perfectly honest. I had to do a little bit of research for this, called Madame Web. This is being worked on supposedly by the people who are working on the Morbius the Living Vampire project, which is also a Spider-Man spin-off.
Nice.
So it seems like Sony's got this whole, we want to make a bunch of Spider-Man films. We just don't know which ones are going to work.
Yeah.
Madame Web is this kind of character who's tapped into the mystical spider forces. If you've ever read some of the newer Spider-Man comics, they talk about like the spider totem and how it connects certain people and powers. And
She made a couple of appearances in the 90s cartoon.
Yeah, she's more familiar with the Spider-Woman than Spider-Man.
Right.
Spider-Woman's more of the mystic side of the Spider-Verse thing.
Right.
So it's different.
Right.
It's weird that like Spider-Man
she's like
never really dealt with
She's
it.
also like a special agent.
Yeah.
Yes.
And she's like clairvoyant or something. And she sounds like a very fascinating character. I'm just personally not intimately familiar with her. So to take that as your stepping stone is where you want to go. Like, is she that popular of a character to make a movie out of?
No. Neither is Mobius.
But
Yeah.
I thought, as soon as I heard that, I thought, man, she would make a really great addition to the next Into the Spider-Verse movie. That'd be fucking cool.
Yeah.
But to like offer it as a live-action Spider-Man
Because-
spin-off movie makes no sense.
Right. And the main character, Cassandra Webb is her name, in the comics, I guess, is actually like an old mutant. So that raises some questions if that's
Yeah.
the version that you're... Now, apparently her powers can be passed from like person to person. So you may not need to necessarily have that version of it. But the fact that this particular character is a mutant does start to raise a little bit of questions, especially as we proceed into the next generation of Marvel movies in which mutants are possibly going to show up at some point somehow.
Yeah, in the 90s cartoon, which is the only place I know her from, she acted as a kind of Merlin
Okay.
to Spider-Man. It was a lot of, obviously very powerful, very magical, just appeared wherever she wanted to give advice and maybe help, but not really. So...
Right.
It was a lot of let me guide you on the correct path, Spider-Man sort
Okay.
of stuff,
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a fascinating character, but you really got to sell me on this as a movie because it sounds a bit rough.
I can't imagine this being at all cool.
And like, do you want it live action or do you just make it animated at that point?
I mean, I would want more animated Spider-Man. I know that for damn sure.
I mean, if Sony's doing it, then yeah, absolutely,
exactly.
I mean, when you told me about Into the Spider-Verse at first, I was like, I don't know, is this gonna work?
Yeah, I hated that first trailer when it came
Yeah.
out because of the jitteriness of it. Because you're seeing only a minute and a half. You didn't have time to adjust your head to the way it was animated, to the way it was shot, even. And now I go back. I've watched the movie like 5 fucking times. I love the movie. I think it's brilliant.
It's glorious.
But that first trailer, I was like, "This is awful. Why the fuck did you make this?"
Right.
Because it looks like shit, and it just doesn't make any sense.
Yep, absolutely.
But I think that a live action, we're going to continue this train of Spider-Man, extended universe Spider-Man stuff because that's what Sony has the rights to. And they are going to, whether Marvel likes it or not, eat the living fuck out of it in movies. They are going to make a lot of shit just trying to see what sticks.
Yeah.
And unfortunately,
And
a lot of it's going to be really awful.
and getting the rights to Tom Holland, it means something.
It
right?
does. I
Like,
mean, because he's drawing power from the MCU over to them at that point.
Right.
Yeah, and if they can get that agreement where Tom Holland's allowed to show up as Spider-Man in at least one of them, you gotta choose. Like, choose one of these movies and go, this is the one where we put Spider-Man
Venom.
in it. Is it Venom 2?
yeah.
Is it Mobius? Is it whatever this one's gonna be called? Like, where do you put that in there? Or do you wait until they have their own bad guy fucking convention party and then Spider-Man shows up?
Okay,
Sinister Six.
what if it's not exactly like Venom 2, but what if it's like a Venom Spider-Man team up versus Carnage?
So Maximum Carnage?
Yeah.
The video game?
Yeah.
I'm super on board as long as we do like a side scroll. There has to be a side scrolling action sequence.
Just
Like-
Old Boy, just this fall fight from
Yeah.
Old Boy, but with Spider-Man's.
Spider-Man and
Spider-Man's
Venom.
Yeah.
It'd be amazing.
That would be amazing. I would watch the shit out of
Would
that.
you say it would be the most amazing Spider-Man movie?
No. I would not say that.
Something that isn't amazing is the fact that the Ghost Rider TV show got canceled this week.
Yeah.
Before it even got to soar, the
I
Ghost
kind
Rider
of saw
TV
that
show.
coming. I really
Yeah.
didn't think they were going through
It was
with
such
that.
an interesting concept.
It was.
It was their whole journey into mystery or journey into terror, as they were calling it. You know, we were going to have Ghost Rider. We were going to have Damien Hellstrom. Now, we don't know about the other side of that. We just know that specifically the Ghost Rider Gabriel Luna series has been canceled. Whether or not Journey into Terror will continue without Ghost Rider,
Yeah.
we don't know. Now, also, it kind of makes sense when you think about Ghost Rider, because, like, first off, Ghost Rider is an expensive character to have on screen.
All
He's
the time.
Literally a skull on fire.
Yep.
Right.
And that
That's-
is expensive to animate.
I don't know if you know this, but paying someone to light their skull on fire is very costly.
Yeah, I bet.
You don't find a lot of actors or stuntmans that are willing to light their skull on fire
Right.
for multiple scenes. And talking while having that happen is very hard to emote.
Basically just Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, it's just Nicolas Cage.
He's the only one that'll do it.
Yeah. And weirdly, Nicolas Cage, there was no CGI in those movies. That was all just Nicolas Cage
He
magic.
can just do that. He's
Yeah.
that good of an actor.
So the situation, the report that kind of came out about this was that that Hulu and the Ghost Rider team itself have kind of reached this weird creative impasse that couldn't be resolved, is what was kind of talked about. Whether or not this series will go somewhere else, it could possibly. I mean, it could become a Disney Plus show, I guess, or it could go somewhere else. I just think it's unlikely. I mean, I would
think we
love
kind
to
of
see
called it whenever we started discussing the idea. We were like, this is really cool. It's probably never going to see the light of day.
Yeah, I think what I noticed happened pretty much as soon as Disney started ramping up towards their own streaming service is them start really clamping down on the stuff they had let fly. Netflix went down. I'm sure like ABC won't have much left over in the next couple of years.
Oh, no.
Shield's
there's-
got one more season.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Shield's got
Shield
one
is
more
done.
season and that's it. So like anything coming out from outside of the Disney Plus umbrella,
Yeah.
even the stuff on Hulu, I don't have a lot of hope for.
Well, as of right now, everything is looking hopeful for Cloak and Dagger and the Runaways.
Uh-huh.
They seem to be the ones that are surviving, weathering the storm.
Mm-hmm.
Because they wanted to, because those are for they have a good audience, and they're not necessarily for the age bracket and group that they would get a Disney Plus subscription.
Right.
So they want to have that on Hulu for basically 20-something-year-olds would like
Yeah.
these shows, but they're not really probably going to buy.
And you've got an
Disney Plus
interesting
subscription.
crossover coming up too, because you've got the crossover between the Runaways and Cloak and Dagger,
Mm-hmm.
and one of those shows exists purely on Hulu. One of these exists on Freeform, you know, which is streamed on Hulu.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I mean, it's an interesting
They're
proposition.
literally all owned by Disney, so
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter.
But I mean,
what they're
it's
what they
an
air
interesting
on.
way to cross your product over and be like, you know, if you like this, if maybe you didn't get Hulu but you're watching this on Freeform,
Yeah.
hey, you can watch the other part of this or whatever for the Runaways on Hulu.
Yeah, and if
Would you like
further
to watch
go-
more?
Yeah,
Right.
would you like to watch more for $7.99 a month? You can have Disney Plus, and
I
there's
mean-
a fuck ton more shit on there.
Make your money where you can.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, so that's the thing is Disney Plus. This isn't in the news thing, but like I just want to talk about it. Disney Plus is coming out soon, and I looked up
Like
what,
early November.
Yeah, early, so very soon.
Yeah.
I looked up kind of what their launch is, and there's not too terribly much there. There's
Well-
a good. I mean, you can count every season of The Simpsons ever as a fuckload because that's
That's
a
not
lot,
even like
but-
yes, but like think about all like yeah.
But the
there's not
first
a lot of
year
There's not a
is
lot of
amazing.
original content, but the actual like everything that's in it is insane.
Yeah, no. When I looked at the whole year of original content and
Yeah, there's
stuff
not
that
a
they're just
ton.
putting into it, that first year is going to be really cool. It's not starting immediately with their
Yeah.
Orange is the New Black and everything else. You gotta
Right.
wait for them to
Yeah,
build that up.
but that's true. I see that. But when you think about early Netflix I was literally thinking about this in the car when we were going to IKEA the other day. That when you look at our old school Netflix original programming, the stuff that we thought was great back then, like the original first season of Hemlock Grove.
Oh yeah, Hemlock
we were-
Grove.
Or just
we were
Hemlock
just
Grove in general.
It
we
was
were just
Hemlock
like, holy
Grove
shit,
and
like-
House of Cards and Orange is the New Black were basically
Right.
like the originals that were like Netflix is making TV, I guess. What a
Right,
crazy
but
world.
like out of those, like Hemlock Grove, like if you go back and really kind of watch it, it's a little rough.
Oh, it's so rough.
right?
Dude, it's a story
it
about
had
a
such great
vampire and a
actors.
werewolf that are best friends, in this weird gothy town with an undead zombie mom. It's gonna be a little bit weird.
Yeah.
It's only for weird people that like weird goth shit anyway.
Yeah, but the actors were like so high tier, and it
Like,
was so
yeah.
much fun to
Yeah,
watch.
nobody
But
knew-
it was just
It was
weird
like,
as hell.
Here's this Skarsgård brother that will now eternally, forever be the creepy Skarsgård brother.
yeah, and for some reason, this little girl is huge.
Right, and like these things came out of nowhere, but it's kind of like that with Disney Plus. They're going to be trying some experimental stuff out, and if you know what, if you're coming out the gate with the Mandalorian, that's balls.
Yeah,
I'm kind of Game of
That's
Thrones.
that's their Orange the New Black.
Yeah,
Basically.
probably.
No, actually, for me, it's more Games of Thrones or Game of Thrones.
Games of Thrones.
Games of Thrones.
Games of Thrones.
I will get. I will get into Disney Plus when Mandalorian comes out.
Right,
It's
which
the
is day one, isn't it?
I don't think it's day one. I think it's like a little bit later.
I honestly haven't looked.
Yeah, I don't think it was day one.
Okay.
But I think it was a little bit later. It was when the Mandalorian first airs.
know they
and
definitely
that's whenever
have-
I'm like, okay, now I get Disney Plus because I want to watch Mandalorian.
I know they definitely
And
have
then,
day one
much
shows,
like
though.
Game of Thrones. Okay, Mandalorian's done. I no longer watch Disney Plus, and
Yeah.
I cancel that subscription until the next season that
You
comes
ain't
out.
canceling shit. I'm the one that hasn't canceled the HBO subscription. We
Right.
still have it because I pay for it.
I,
So
see,
you
yeah, that's
can
the thing is
get-
you haven't remembered to cancel it, so I've still been watching HBO shit.
I do too.
But I think one of the Marvel shows is a day one show, like one of the not one, maybe WandaVision or the other one.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I think there's some Marvel stuff day one.
Although I feel like we should probably be getting a trailer soon if that's the case.
I have a
That's the
feeling
thing, they
like for a
haven't-
show about
yeah.
nerd things, we have no clue what's coming up on Disney
Well,
Plus.
they haven't been super.
if only somebody
straightforward.
did a podcast about this.
Yeah,
Maybe
all
I should
the-
just like use
all-
my phone real fast.
All we have so far is a trailer for The Mandalorian, so maybe that one is day one, and the
See, I
other
thought-
ones are coming
Yeah,
later.
I thought that was day one.
I don't know. I know that they have a just astronomical amount, whatever a metric dick ton of IP is. That is Disney Plus. It's
Yeah.
all the Disney movies, all the Fox stuff, all the animated cartoons that came out in the '90s that we love. I mean, everything.
I mean, first off, they're putting all of Gargoyles on there.
yeah, which I am going to burn through.
I'm just gonna binge watch Gargoyles.
So that's that's kind of amazing because we're getting all of Gargoyles. That means you can actually watch it in the correct order because they started airing them out of order
Right.
within syndication, and it fucked it up. Whenever you're like, okay, why are they in fucking Avalon now?
Yeah.
This doesn't make any goddamn
And that
sense.
was very
What
much
the
an
fuck
episodic
happened?
show. Like they had
Yeah.
shows that were 3 episodes long. They had triple arcs in that show.
Oh yeah, that one had super structure. You had to follow week to week on Gargoyles for it to, like DuckTales, it doesn't matter, but
Yeah.
with Gargoyles, no, they had a definite progression, especially when the certain villains got introduced. Like Desdemona was first,
Oh,
and then you
yeah.
got Macbeth that came in.
Oh
and
man, Macbeth was such a great character.
he really was. God, I love Gargoyles. It's such a good show. We just do a Gargoyles podcast now.
We should.
All right, so
goddamn.
let's move away from the Marvel world and the Disney world. For
I
a
will
second.
tell us what the order is once I figure it out because I'm trying to find it on my phone.
Educate
What is the
us.
first thing that comes out?
Okay.
If it's Mandalorian or not.
So let's talk about DC Comics.
Yeah.
So they got their whole year of the villain shtick that they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they want to be able to promote the villain side of things because really, when you come to DC, that's what you really go to DC for.
Like we keep saying that, and it's true. We do go to DC for the villains, but all anyone wants to do is write about the Joker.
Right. But it's like
They have so many good villains.
Right, and that's exactly what happened here. Is that in October, because in fact, I believe October 9th is going to be the release date. So like a week or ish from the time this podcast airs.
Yep.
There's going to be a comic book by John Carpenter and Anthony Birch. Anthony Birch worked on the script for Borderlands 2, I believe.
Yes, he was the main writer on Borderlands 2,
and
as well as several other things. But
right, and of course
that's his big one.
John Carpenter of classic horror
Of John
film-
Carpenter.
of John Carpenter are going to be doing a Joker one shot that comes out.
Yeah.
Like this is
Weird side
fantastic.
note. John Carpenter actually plays the cello on the new Destiny soundtrack for the new expansion. I just found this out today.
He found a way to put Destiny in the middle
Of John Carpenter.
Of John
the
Carpenter.
Batman discussion. I'm actually impressed at this point.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not even mad. I'm just impressed that he found a way to stick Destiny news in.
I wonder if that was like Anthony Birch and John Carpenter's talking point. It's like, oh hey, do you like Destiny? Yeah, do you like Destiny?
Mandalorian premieres November 12th.
That's the day that Disney Plus launches.
Okay, well, I also have a giant international list of dates that when Disney Plus goes live, so it's a little bit complicated
Yeah.
for me.
So yeah, John Carpenter, Anthony Birch working on a Joker one shot. I have the kind of the premise here. It says in this one shot special, Lex Luthor, who is now a human alien hybrid, has made his appeal to the world, asking its citizens to embrace doom and give in once and for all to evil, humanity's true nature.
Man.
In exchange, he will grant them the tools to ascend to their ultimate selves. While some DC villains and heroes are willing to hear what Apex Lex has to offer, the clown prince of crime isn't going to wait around until Lex gets to him. This puts the Joker on a mission to get his swagger back in a world gone bad by outbatting everyone else, proving that the greatest evil is always the one that leaves them laughing.
All right, in my mind,
sounds
so
fucking
Apex Lex
incredible.
just bothers me because like it's just a dude playing a very bad video game very badly. Like that's Lex Luthor. He gave up and now he just streams Apex Legends.
This is what happens when like you make one wrong mistake on your Paragon run of a game, and it's like, oh no, that was an evil action. Fuck it, full evil from here on out.
It's such a wacky concept, but first off, this is a one-shot.
Yeah.
The writing...
It's a great idea for a one-shot.
It is a great idea for a one-shot.
The writing behind this is just absolutely ridiculous. Apparently, they're just going to have like random other weird villains show up. Like the Condiment Man. There is literally a Batman villain that just has based around condiments. Apparently, he shows up at some point. Like it's just
how much of a threat is this guy?
I don't know.
Dude, there's one of the best Batman comic books in like history of Batman comic books. It's about a dude who like just loves calendars.
Right.
True.
Like,
good point.
Come on, Batman's got
like-
some stupid fucking
And
villains.
yet, Arkham Asylum, the video game, managed to like put Calendar Man in such a light that he was actually kind of fascinating.
Yeah, he
Like,
was pretty menacing too.
Yeah, that's kind of creepy. Yeah, but so one of the inspirations for this, speaking of Arkham Asylum, the comic, not the game, however, is John Carpenter was really inspired by Grant Morrison's run on Batman that was Arkham Asylum. Because in that, Grant Morrison kind of puts forward the notion that the Joker is actually not insane. He's what he calls, and this is definitely a Grant Morrison-ism, is hyper sane. He's so much more sane than everybody else, and nobody else can see the world the way that he does.
It's the Deadpool idea. He's the only one that understands that he's a comic book character.
Right, but he doesn't think he's a comic book character, but he
knows he's a
He
comic
just
book character.
thinks,
He's like, no, I'm straight up an invention of other people, man.
You're right, that's Deadpool, not the Joker.
Right,
But
It's the only way to correlate for people to understand that
Yeah.
Right.
that the Joker also goes like, well, this is not the reality that you think it is.
Right.
And that's the
Because
thing,
I'm
like
aware.
what if the Joker's whole thing was just like everyone is just constantly lying to themselves and everyone around them? None of this is the way anyone thinks it is.
Right.
I guess that makes me the insane one while I try and write things.
Exactly. You know, it's the crazy person in the movie being like, the aliens are actually here, and they're like, "Oh, crazy person!" Like,
Right.
Are we
Hey,
excited for the
aliens.
Joker movie, by the way? Because I'm really kind of excited for the Joker movie.
Yes.
Like, I really want to
okay.
see it, but like, I don't want to see another trailer.
I've had and I do want to see it.
Yeah,
But
I wanna see it.
I've been burned by a couple of movies that I thought were one thing and ended up being something else entirely this year. So, and not that they were bad experiences. They were good movies. They just, when I took people to them, I told them to expect one thing and it
And it
got
was
really
not that?
awkward really fast.
Right.
Okay.
So,
I'm
I do
expecting
wanna
not
see
a
it.
good story.
So
Or
I
not
do-
a good,
right.
I mean, a good story, but not a happy story.
right, I do want to see it, but I kind of like don't want to like bring anyone out and be like, "Yo, let's go do this thing."
Yeah, like
'Cause it could just
I
be
feel like it's not
horrifying.
an event movie. It's
Yeah.
more like
I feel like it's
I'm gonna
something-
go watch this. I'll let you know.
I feel like it's something like we would all go watch.
Yeah,
together,
for
but,
real,
like,
yeah.
but
I
it's
think
not-
the three of us would
And
get a lot
here
out
We're
of it.
not
Austin-
just like grabbing our random friends and being
Yeah.
like, "Hey, let's go
No,
watch this."
It's
but
not
I looked
Mad
it up.
Max
There's
night or
actually
anything.
70 millimeter prints for here in Austin. So if you want to see it on the really pretty big frame, that really is gorgeous.
Yeah,
And-
it is.
All right, so we were talking kind of briefly about the Mandalorian and the world of Star Wars and all that good stuff. There actually was a pretty interesting Star Wars announcement this week that I wanted to touch on, and that's that Kevin Feige, the mastermind behind all things Marvel related.
Yeah, he's the MCU. Like if he was a superhero and you gave him a costume with a logo, it would just be MCU. That would be Kevin Feige.
I just imagine
That's
that he
hero.
is the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah.
Like he is the master of all.
if I were him,
reality.
I would probably just walk around wearing an Infinity Gauntlet.
Exactly. But
Just be like, hey, you questioning me? I'm snapping here. I'm Kevin Feige.
And since he has all the
I'm
money, just
literally-
like real
I'm
jewels
literally-
all the way
he
around.
probably is the only person that works on the MCU movies that if he snaps, everybody stops what they're doing and like instantly
Yeah.
makes it happen. But he's actually going to start working on Star Wars.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy.
I feel like he just went to he literally went to a different floor in the same building, which weirdly that's the way their floors between Disney or Disney has between Star Wars and Marvel. It's literally a different
Yeah.
floor that you can just go down and be like, hey, I'm in charge of this now too.
Well, okay,
It's
so
like,
here's
that's what he did.
Right, so there's a misconception about this because everybody, when this article first hit, everybody was like, "Oh man, like Kevin Feige's coming in to save Star Wars." The person that's actually helming Star Wars as a franchise, she's still going to be helming Star Wars as a franchise. franchise. She's still handling all.
Yeah,
that
she has
Kevin
Kevin Feige's job. I just can't remember her name right now.
And he's going to be coming in working on a project, but he's not coming in to like steer the course or the ship.
Right. He's not like working them up to their version of the Avengers. Or
No, he's
anything.
probably got like a
probably
cool
got
Star
one
Wars
cool
idea
movie.
where it might either be a movie or a TV show, or what the fuck ever idea. He's like, I got this cool Star Wars thing.
Yeah.
Let's make the Ewok Village the movie. And that's his idea. And we're like, cool, you can go do that over there.
Yeah, based on a very loud vocal minority, it's easy to think of the Star Wars franchise as it is now as floundering. It is not. It is
Super
making
not.
a fuck ton of money. People really
And
like
those
it.
the two movies we've gotten are fucking good. I don't care what anybody says. I like them.
I like both of the offshoots. I liked Solo. Solo was
fun.
And I really liked Rogue One.
And the name
Yeah.
that you're looking for, Tony, is Kathleen Kennedy. She's the
Yes.
one
There you go.
Thank
currently
you.
helming the.
It was
all
kind
the
of
Star
driving me a little bit crazy. I was
Yeah.
like, I know her name.
Yeah. Also, just sounds like a superhero name to me.
It really does.
Maybe she'll go do a movie over at the Marvel side. It's,
So what's kind of fascinating to me about this is that Kevin Feige for a very long time was asked, like, if Disney asks you like to make a Star Wars movie, would you? And he's like, no, I prefer watching them. He's like, I prefer to go in and just get to watch them as a fan and not. But apparently he's changed his tune. Apparently when somebody says, so do you want to make Star Wars? He's like, maybe.
And then they kind of lean over and like knock on a door, and the door opens, and it's just a room full of money.
Right.
Like just stacks of cash.
just Scrooge McDuck's
Not even like
bank
stacks
vault.
of cash, but like a messy pile of
It's
cash.
literally just Scrooge McDuck's bank vault.
Yeah,
Because
and they're
Disney.
like, but would you like to make a Star Wars movie? As they slowly open the door, and dollar signs in his eyes. 'Cause he's
I'm
Kevin
interested in
Feige.
what his idea is
Oh,
because it could be something as simple as like a special that's going to be on Disney Plus.
oh,
That-
reboot of the Halloween or the
Christmas special. That's the reason why I kind of brought up the Ewok Village, the movie,
Yeah.
because of the Christmas special. I was like, maybe he's just going to do that,
Yeah.
Like,
and it would be fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's Kevin Feige. Whatever it is, it will be incredibly accessible, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And I feel like it will be the type of movie that Star Wars is probably looking for.
It's going to be a
right
love
now.
letter. It's going to be a love
Yeah.
letter to the franchise because he is such a big fan. I mean, he even talks in his interviews about how much Star Wars shit he owns.
You know what
he's
I-
like, my house. You know all that money that I made from like making Marvel movies? I buy Star Wars shit with it. Like,
Which is funny because couldn't he be like just like go one floor down and be like, give me all the Star Wars shit?
Yeah, you know what I would really like is I would really like him to like go into the Star Wars universe and just grab Rain Johnson and be like, "No, make a Marvel movie."
Oh, that'd be good.
that would be fantastic. That
Everybody
you just
bitches
angered a
so
lot of
much.
I
nerds
know,
with
fuck
that.
all
just
of
stated
them.
that-
I want Rain Johnson's Marvel, whatever. He can make anything. I would watch the shit
I'd
out
love
of
to
it.
think everything he's made at this point.
Maybe he
And
can
I'm
make
just like,
Moon Knight.
There you go. He can make Shuri. He
Right.
can make a ton of stuff.
Why are you looking at me? I was just like, yes, this is a thing we should do. Yeah, like,
We
I'm
all
really
just
staring
stopped
off into
talking at the
space, being
same
like,
time.
yeah, let's do that.
Exciting, yeah,
This
everything
is
about
good.
this, I love this. Let's talk about something weird.
Yeah.
As if Kevin Feige working on Star Wars wasn't weird enough. House of the Dead is a game that existed at some point.
Yeah. But back when those gun light arcade games were popular.
Yeah, GunCon games.
Guncom games.
Yeah, and there isn't there like 7 of them.
There's
I
like
think
a bunch.
there are at least 5.
The last major one I remember was the one that was put out for the Wii, and it was like so over the top and ridiculous. It actually, so a brief history of the House of the Dead games started off as just an arcade shooter meant to like chow down quarters.
Yeah, a
shoot-
zombie version of Area 51.
Right,
Is what
and it
was.
had like weird circumstances where like it had branching paths in the game. Good thing I watched a history about House of the Dead the other day just to remind myself of this.
Just getting ready for Halloween.
Just getting ready for
Yeah.
Halloween. And it had weird like things where if you saved a human, the path would branch in a different direction. That's how how it worked. So if you were just playing the game at the arcade, you had no idea why your character went left instead of right, but that was the way that it was determined.
Yeah, I had no idea, honestly.
Yeah, and
I was really just shooting monsters.
Yeah,
and,
all situational based on like who lives and dies in the game itself.
oh, cool.
And
There's a
so
plot.
there is. It's a very bad plot. And they made multiple of these arcade games, and eventually they got ported. There was like a PS2 port. There was I believe, Dreamcast port. There was a typing game.
Typing of the Dead was one of my favorite
of the
things
Dead.
to do in high school.
Yeah.
It was a better game as a typing game.
You think so?
100%.
Okay. So Forever Entertainment, I believe it's a Polish, maybe a Polish. I'm not sure. I have to double check my sources on that. But these are the crew that remade the game Panzer Dragoon and made a really beautiful, like modern port of Panzer Dragoon. Very highly accredited team, and they're going to remake the first 2 House of the Dead games.
Nice.
So like, why?
Right?
When you say remake, like this isn't a like an HD remaster. Like they're really making them again.
I don't know. Like they haven't really gone on because only a little bit's kind of come out about it at this point.
My question: what are they making them for? Most people don't have light gun.
That's the question, right? Because light guns actually, fun fact, most light guns don't function on modern TVs because of the way that the light interacts with the television.
Right, there's no glass.
Yeah,
Right.
it's the tube relation. It's the ability to flash a one individual frame of light doesn't function correctly on the new TVs,
Right.
And that's the way light guns transferred. And there is a way to make light guns work on modern televisions, LCDs, and whatever tubeless TVs we have. Unfortunately, it's very cost prohibitive because it's very expensive and very niche, and nobody really wants
Exactly.
it.
Right. So most
Those
people,
types of games don't really exist anymore.
Most
anyway.
people default to things like the old Wii controls and the motion controls that they have for like the PlayStation Eye stuff, and even the Xbox camera had a few of those.
Sure,
apps
and
as well.
there's ways to do this, right?
What if it's
but
what if it's a VR game?
That'd be kind of cool because I mean, then you still get the gun action thing,
Yeah.
but then it's a VR setup. I don't think this is gonna be selling me on VR, but I'd totally play that if I had a VR headset.
Yeah,
that'd be
if I had
cool.
a VR headset, it'd be definitely.
I don't think it would be. I mean, I'd have to see it if it would be enough to convince me to buy it.
Yeah,
because
it won't be.
As long as VR headsets keep getting better in quality and lower in price.
Yeah.
There's gonna become a day where I'm like, you know what?
Sure.
Fuck it. I'm gonna drop $300 and get me a cool fucking VR headset.
And while we're talking about VR headsets, let's go ahead and just continue down this road because VR had a weird spotlight put on it this week because a franchise long thought extinct is now being resurrected, but as a VR only game. Medal of Honor.
Huh.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about that. Actually, no, I think about that game quite often. Mostly because I think of like first-person shooter action-y games and things like that. And I always go like, what happened to Medal of Honor?
Yeah, so
I know it. I'll tell you exactly what happened.
I watched a documentary about it recently. Here we are. And so Medal of Honor, if for those of you who may not be familiar, is like one of the OG, like
Before Call of Duty,
like started off literally like as a brainchild of people like Steven Spielberg who were working on Band of Brothers.
It was basically a video game adaptation of Saving Private Ryan when it came out.
And it was a very kind of controversial game when it first came out because some veterans kind of rallied behind it at first and said, well, don't make a game about our war experiences because war isn't a game. And when Medal of Honor was getting ready to be released, it finally they showed a lot of these veterans the Medal of Honor game and the very Band of Brothers-esque storytelling that went on in it. And a lot of them kind of redacted and said, you're really treating the source material with a lot of respect.
Right.
You're really showing that, like, when you're storming Normandy or something like that, that like people die, people who are your friends, and that it is difficult. And that was always...
They were probably thinking it was going to be like a Duke Nukem sort of thing.
Right. That's what they originally thought. They were like, oh, it's the moment you put game in there.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, especially at that age, didn't think that a game could be art or could tell a story like that.
Yeah.
And, we had people that touched on Medal of Honor, the original Medal of Honor, like Steven Spielberg, who had a hand, in kind of helping craft that vision. And it was a first-person shooter, yes, it was a game, but it was definitely a story about people trying to survive during wartime, and that it isn't just run and gun and, everything. What we think of modern, shooters, it just wasn't that.
Right.
It wasn't super realistic to the point where, like, if you get shot in the leg, like, you fall down, but, like, it definitely didn't let you just be a bullet sponge either.
Yeah, you weren't, you were always fighting with a squad if you were fighting, like, up a hill or something like that. It wasn't you were, the god of health and weapons and running around carrying all 16 of your guns, mowing down all the Nazis, as you really did fight, like, up the beach with your group, and, like, they could die, and that was a real problem for you because you had less help now.
Right.
That type of stuff.
So it was a game that always very much treated the material it was working with a lot of respect. Much like the early Call of Duty games very much did that as well.
I miss that. Seriously, why the fuck isn't Call of Duty going back to World War II?
They did with the last one.
Yeah.
Nobody liked it.
No. I stopped paying attention to Call of Duty games a long time ago.
The Call of Duty game before Black Ops 4 was World War II, and it was just Call of Duty World War II because
nobody played it.
Yeah, and nobody played it
Oh.
because it had really, really predatory like microtransactions.
Okay, maybe we go back to like the way Call of Duty used to be, which is not microtransactions.
There was like an area of the game where everyone could get together, and it were just people, like players, almost like a Hub World and Destiny, right? But here's the kick: this area was only the area where you like found a lobby or opened your loot boxes, and everyone around you could watch you open your loot boxes because it happened in real time.
We've talked about this before. I forgot because
so the whole point,
it already.
The whole point was like
to encourage spending.
To encourage, like, oh man, he got that.
And we do need to talk about this, and we are going to talk about specifically Call of Duty here in a second. But the big announcement was that Medal of Honor, a franchise that's been dead since like 2012, is coming back. Respawn Entertainment's working on this, so they're taking all their Apex Legends money and they're not Titanfall money. They're making a new Medal of Honor game. It's going to be called Above and Beyond, and it's going to be a VR game. It's going to be World War II, obviously. It's going to be you fighting against Nazis. You'll be working with the cooperation of French resistance forces. It's supposed to be a AAA title. It's going to be a single-player campaign that lasts 10 to 12 hours.
Wow.
That's actually a lot for a VR game.
Yeah, 10 to 12 hours in VR.
That's actually a normal length for a first-person shooter, and what an excessive length for a VR game.
I don't think we've had anything that you would call a AAA game in VR aside from Resident Evil 7.
There's the Batman game that was pretty good. I mean, I heard. I don't know. I don't have VR headsets, so I don't
I think it was like a 3 or 4 hour, like,
but
look at this fun
but nothing's been
thing.
this level aside from Resident Evil 7.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's the fact that we are getting a rebirth of this game from specifically this company. It weirdly kind of gives me hope, but also makes me sad because I'm like, oh, what kind of stupid microtransaction shit are they going to try and do in this?
I don't think they're going to. I don't think because I think they're working on this being a Rift exclusive is what they're trying to do.
Okay.
And so
also that shit needs to end right the fuck now. VR exclusives is the stupidest idea.
You say that, but there's a real problem with not having exclusives because between the Oculus Rift and the HTC Vive and the other crap that exists out, like the Sony one, none of them have the same capabilities. They're all very different.
No universal.
They're all very different technology. The Oculus Rift is mostly a seated experience. The HTC Vive has a setup where it tracks you as you move around in whatever area you're in.
Yeah, actually, Oculus and Steam just put out a new version of both of their stuff. Linux Tech Tips is a channel I watch on YouTube. He's just installed the newer version, I think, of the Oculus one because he already had his room set up with the cameras, and the new one you just really plug those cameras into it, and it functions the same.
And the PlayStation VR one in its current form is kind of a weird mix of the two, where like it works both ways, but not as well as either.
And that's the problem is there is no universal standard when it comes to
even
VR.
Its functionality.
Yeah, functions.
Yeah. Like most controllers have like 14 buttons on them.
Whereas Microsoft and Sony basically are making the same thing with kind of different UI. That's pretty much it.
I have a counterpoint here, Tony, because your immediate guttural reaction was, VR exclusivity has to stop.
And then I immediately went, oh, fuck, it has to exist because nobody makes any sort of unified version of VR.
And that's like saying like, oh, well, console exclusive have to stop. Halo needs to be on the PlayStation. Like it's a nice idea, but that's not the way the world works, and it's not. And that's what sells your system.
I get that, and it is a way to sell systems, and I think that because VR is in its infancy, I believe that third-party companies making third-party games outside of either Valve or Sony or Oculus should go for the whatever universal spectrum that they can get to say, hey, this is the general standard for all of these systems, and we can make a game that will function in all of these systems to maximize the amount of money we will make because we didn't put microtransactions in it. So we've got to figure out a way to make more money.
Right.
Makes sense.
I think
it's my also goal is to not have microtransactions. My goal is to have no exclusivity and no microtransactions. It's a wonderful utopia my brain wants to live in. Unfortunately, it's surrounded by a trash can fire made of trash can fires.
Yeah, and we should talk about this. I think now that we've talked about Medal of Honor, Hector, I'm going to turn the microphone over to you because we need to talk about. You played the Call of Duty Modern Warfare beta.
Too much of it. I played quite a bit of it.
I know. I think one person that that played it outside of you.
Yeah.
That's it.
It was really good, but let me start off by saying, and because what I'm going to talk about is the controversy going on with the game as it's being released. To put a little hat on what Tony said about exclusivity, I would say, obviously creating an exclusive for your console is what sells consoles. However, cross-platform games with console-exclusive content needs to die.
Yeah, and so what does that mean?
What I'm saying is, here's a very good example. The new Modern Warfare, the Call of Duty Modern Warfare, comes out like in at the end of October 25th. Announced that there is a mode exclusive to the PlayStation that will be exclusive to the PlayStation for a year. Now,
which is the effective life of...
For anyone who knows...
literally the life of a Call of Duty.
Anyone who knows about any of these Call of Duty games knows that they last about a year. And the people who play them are usually done with them in about 3 months at the high end. So locking a mode out for a year is locking a mode out, period. Right. It might as well be exclusive forever, which is what a lot of people are saying.
How can you justify whenever Activision that owns the Call of Duty is going to go, well, here's the Call of Duty that we came out now. What's Modern Warfare 3 or some shit? What's it called now? Was it 3?
Well, the new one? It's just Modern Warfare.
Just Modern Warfare. Yeah. So the Modern Warfare that's coming out, which is dumb because there already was a Modern Warfare before.
Don't get me started.
But we're going to lock this thing in it, but 3 months after this game comes out, we are going to show you in-game footage and have a beta for the next Call of Duty, which is going to have another exclusivity bullshit locked into it for another probably year or longer. Right. And this is not good. Right. For just gamers. And it's not good.
This is just the beginning. So there has also been leaks online showing that the plan was, and this is probably not the case now, but the plan was to have microtransactions and loot boxes, which are called supply drops in the Modern Warfare verse, which started with the World War II game we were talking about.
Yeah.
That have actual...
That makes sense.
That have actual guns in them, like the guns that you unlock by playing the game.
Yeah.
And that made so many people so angry and lost them so many pre-orders that they had a big meeting about it and decided, maybe cosmetic only. But we don't have any confirmation either way. But we know that the people in the meetings whose voices are actually listened to at Activision are fucking talking about it.
Yeah.
Because they heard how angry everyone was.
And to the point where they actually asked Reddit, essentially, to please calm down, please stop yelling at developers because of things that are out of their hands.
Right. And that's kind of it's such a hard place to come from, because at that point it's Activision keeping their employees hostage and using them as a shield for their shitty behavior. Yeah. It's like, please don't cancel your pre-orders. Think of the devs. They worked very hard on this game. Don't punish them. They don't mean don't punish them. They mean don't punish us through them.
Yeah, no, it's literally holding a child up as a shield, being like, "Oh, don't hurt the child."
But I have a daughter.
Yeah.
Don't punch
Maybe
me.
put yourself in front of the kid, which is what Activision should be doing. It's like, come after us and leave them alone.
One of the developers spoke up about that. They said, look, I can't really go into all the specifics about how microtransactions or loot boxes or any of this stuff works.
It's all very subject to change.
It's also not released yet.
We've developed the game, but there are certain rules that are in place that we have to abide by. And that's all they could say about this. Just there are rules, and that basically just blatantly says, if Activision says put in loot boxes, microtransactions, and gambling, it goes in there.
Let's not forget what happened to Black Ops 4, which is something I spoke about back when it was happening. I started it, I played it, had a great time for the first couple weeks, playing it online like you do, ranking up, playing with friends, and then all of a sudden, the microtransaction stuff hit. Now, this is about a month, maybe a month and a half after the game launched. So reviews were done, everything was done, we were done talking about the game, people were just playing it to play it.
Yep.
And all the people who might go back and see, I wonder if I should pick it up now, let me look at a review, had no idea there were microtransactions.
And if you've not been following our show, this is something that we've been talking about a lot. The fact that game companies, when they submit their games to the ESRB or the PEGI board over in the UK, they don't put in a version that has microtransactions. Crash Team Racing, or whatever it's called, that came out recently, came out, no microtransactions whatsoever. A month after release, added in microtransactions and or gambling mechanics or all this other stuff, gets patched in at a later date. the ratings board has already rated these things. They do not go back and re-rate them after DLC's been put out. So you then have a everyone E for everyone game that is now predatory towards children.
I have an answer that the ESRB and the PEGI system in the European Union can do to figure this out, to fix this very easily. That they can list as if you are making a patch to your game that fundamentally changes it, and they have to include the fundamentally changing it equals adding microtransactions into it, then you will have to resubmit for our rating. If you do add these to your game, like if you add microtransactions, then if that happens, then you are going to lose your rating, and we'll come after you.
Right. I mean, because if you lose your rating, that means all kinds of things. That means you can no longer sell the game to minors, et cetera, et cetera.
That was just my quick and easy fix. That
Sure,
maybe we
that
can
is
do
the-
And it's not a
side.
and it's not a bad idea. I think that, well, to keep going with Call of Duty and what they're doing right now is my biggest thing is that when we found out, people kept talking about how the game had changed before and how many pre-orders that they lost when this announcement came out. And my first reaction was good. Yeah, they better
need
lose
to
those
get they need to
pre-orders.
get kicked in the nuts for this.
But please, everyone, I know that most of the gaming community on Earth listens to this podcast. If you can hear me, stop pre-ordering video games. Stop fucking pre-ordering video games, especially video games that have a history of fucking you over and being predatory, even in really shady ways. There's no reason. There will not be a scarcity of Modern Warfare.
Right.
It does not exist. When you click download on the console of your choice, PC or otherwise, it'll download. There will be no case. There will be no box art. There will be nothing to go and get.
Those ones and zeros are now over on my hard drive.
Nobody is going to run out of a copy. You can buy it the day it comes out, or maybe wait a day or two. Stop pre-ordering video games. It is stupid. Don't do it.
And it only encourages bad behavior on the part of the devs.
Nothing they give you in those pre-order bonuses is ever worth
And
it.
the fucked up thing about doing the pre-orders that we never talk about is the moment you give them that pre-order money, that money now goes in their bank account. They're
Yep.
instantly making
made that
interest on your investment that you are not going to see maybe for 6-9 months, a year. Let's go for the case of Star Citizen. Never. They're just making money off of your money because you're a fucking idiot.
Yep.
true.
Well, I'm going to go buy $30,000 worth of ships. I don't know about you.
So yeah, it's a really sticky situation that they find themselves in for Modern Warfare. Of course, I do want to preface this again one more time with we don't know all the details of the microtransactions yet.
Yeah, we don't.
So don't go like throwing torches at anybody.
But do cancel your pre-order immediately.
Do cancel your pre-order. I'm
but
not even
If you're
kidding.
getting it, fucking cancel it. I'm sorry. Fucking stop that
And just
shit.
buy it on the day. You'll get your refund. But we don't. Yeah, give the game a chance to come out.
Right.
Because I did play.
Maybe wait a month or two to see if there's going to be microtransactions added.
And this is what I have to say because I don't want to just come out here and shit on the game because it's not the game that deserves to be shit on. It's
Right.
Activision. I played a character up to level 30 in 2 days. That's how much time I put into that demo. I loved it. It felt like Call of Duty in proper, correct form.
Right.
Like the guns felt good,
Guns
like
feel
Call
good.
of Duty guns do.
All the other mechanics felt good. I played cross-platform and it worked beautifully. I wouldn't have even noticed if they hadn't told me. I never was at a loss for people to play with. All the lobbies were always full. It didn't crash on me. And didn't feel laggy ever.
Right.
It was a good Call of Duty game. So I mean, I really hope they don't fuck it up. But what I won't be doing is pre-ordering it.
Right. All right, well, that's everything we have for the weekly raid this week. We're going to take a small break. When we come back, we'll be going into our main topic for the podcast, In the Boss Room.
Okay, so the whole "don't touch this"
Yeah.
was whenever you put your drink down there, you jostled one of these wires, and somewhere in our audio is when I took the headset off is a noise that was deafening me in my ears.
wow.
So I was
I
like,
saw
"Oh
you pull
fuck,
that
I can't,
plug out. I
I
was
can't like stand this sound because it's so fucking loud." I think it's this. Yeah, don't touch that.
Okay.
That really hurts.
Okay.
This one, it's also shitty. It makes a bad noise. Because the cables aren't meant to be
Do we
bent
need?
over like this.
Do we
the
need
entire
new
time.
cables?
We do need new cables. I'm kind of wondering if they make right-angle cables, like ones
I'm-
that plug in that go off to the
They
side.
have to.
But also, we're about to change everything.
Right.
But we do need to get 3 new cables. of varying lengths. We also don't know how far away this might live versus
Right.
microphones, because if we have the ability to have a quieter room, we can have the microphones further away.
True.
And not right here. Because that's what I was, like, we were looking at the desk, I'm like, that's getting really cramped. I'm like, yeah, but your microphone can be a little bit further away, because that's the way I have it set up. But this angled this way picks up so much of the room noise behind you.
Like if there's a dishwasher turns on or something.
Yeah, no, I hear all of that. But if we have it set to where the voices are, angled a certain way, maybe we can get around that. But yeah, I just don't know how long of cables we're going to need, and these are... Don't touch them, because it's really loud and hurts my ears and makes the record... I don't know what...
Hopefully it didn't make that noise.
I hope it
on the
didn't
show.
make the... No, if I'm hearing it through here, it did.
Right.
Because that is a direct path through. Anything that comes through these microphones, I'm hearing through this. So, and that is the same thing as this. That is going into that.
Right.
So there is going to be a good, however long, until I figured out, like, just move the thing, noise somewhere in there.
Fun.
Yeah, I can't get rid of that either. That's in there.
I didn't see it go crazy on the thingy, but it might have.
It might. It fucking hurt like hell in my ears, and...
Okay,
We
so
don't touch those.
we got a lot to break down here. So
Yeah.
Let's go into that.
perfect.
It didn't make the thing.
Nope, but it did go to the next section.
It did, but it didn't.
Did it not?
It didn't
Or
do
did
the
we
thing.
just miss it? What if you go back one and then forward one?
Okay, that one went.
Yeah. There it goes.
There it goes. Okay.
You just wanted to see it twice.
I didn't see it that time. Fucking neck hurts. I'm fucking hot. I gotta. We're Microsoft and Sony now?
Yeah.
Okay. Or Sony made it, showed off finally a game, and Microsoft was like, we're just here.
Yeah, look at our stuff. We know you've seen it. Just look again,
Sweaty
please.
and smelly now. Ugh, sorry.
You're good.
I have a scent right now. I need to take a shower after this. I'm just getting way too hot in this corner.
Well, we'll have a new setup soon. So.
Yeah, maybe get you a little standing fan.
No, because then the microphones would hear that.
Oh yeah.
No sound.
No
You
sound.
gotta cut the AC off.
Did you know that IKEA makes soundproofing now?
Oh yeah.
That's crazy.
They make a lot of interesting shit.
Yeah.
I love the Sonos speakers / speaker lamp that they have, because they're actually, for Sonos shit, relatively cheaply priced.
Yep.
And really good products, actually.
I think I saw that they make a really, really awesome entertainment center. It's just a cabinet that comes with a TV of your choice and size and features. And the cabinet is speakers and like spots for consoles, and like it's all just there in one piece that you put in your living room.
Wow, that's crazy. All right, let's do this.
IKEA, we are literally turning your lives into Legos.
Yeah.
Okay, that
For
works.
And I'm okay with that.
college kids and divorced men, come on down.
Right?
Yeah, if you go to Target right now, super tell that it's college kid going to school time. That was blatant. Whenever you walk in, you're like, wow, so many flat boxes of varying sizes of desks and tables and everything else. Ready?
Yep.
Boss room.
Hey, adventurers, welcome back to the show. This is the Boss Room. It's our main talking point for the podcast, sometimes related to the news, sometimes not. All right, so over the last week, both Sony and Microsoft did their own digital showings. They put on these big news, here's everything coming out that you'll be able to play soon, basically, right? Nintendo does their Nintendo Directs. This is their equivalent.
Right.
I believe the Xbox One is Inside Xbox.
Yeah, Inside Xbox has been going on since, I think, the 360. The internet didn't really quite exist the way it did on the
It wasn't on
original
YouTube.
one.
They probably had it like on, but I don't know, like
Xbox.com.
Yeah, and maybe running in a segment on like GTV or something.
Right.
Yeah, that's where they originally came from. But yeah, Inside
Documented about that
Xbox.
recently too.
Yeah, Inside Xbox has been around for years.
Was it like 3
years
hours long
years.
and it was just footage of Olivia Munn?
They were all
Because
about-
like I'd watch
it
that.
was literally-
Remember that she used to be
Forward me a link.
a voice or a person that was on a nerd channel show thing.
Yeah, that's where I remember
that's what I
her
said,
from.
And then is now this really famous actress.
Yeah.
It's amazing where your career goes.
Yeah. But
I read her book at one point.
G14 aside.
Yeah.
So Inside Xbox, we're going to start with that one. I feel like
That's a good one to start with.
Go ahead and start with that. Let's cover some of the basics here. Of course, they busted out Xbox Game Pass fairly early. I can't recommend that enough.
Yeah, it's great.
To be honest.
You know, I like literally while we were waiting like to do the show tonight, like you came home, I was sitting there waiting for my download of Blair Witch to finish installing. I was like, cool. I've got like 5 minutes and I'm going to play this game.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm like, and I'm talking to James, like, cool, yeah, whatever you're doing, I'm going to play this game in like 5 minutes.
Yeah. So, Jump Force is a fighting game that's Shonen Jump.
Yeah.
So it's like One Piece and Dragon Ball and all that
Naruto and
all that stuff together.
Bleach and
Yeah.
Gantz? Not Gantz. But
No,
yeah,
you
a
and I
bunch of
talked
stuff.
about Gantz.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. We talked about Gantz
Because that's
on
a
Sunday.
weird ass show that I love.
It's a weird.
So
fucking
that
show.
fighting game available on Xbox Game Pass.
Yeah.
Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, which I was happy to see because that's actually going to be the first game that I play once we move into the new studio,
That is a
and I'm
great game.
probably going to live stream it
you should.
because I am a Castlevania fan. I could talk about the history of Castlevania all day. I probably will. And so if you want the most boring history of Castlevania while I play Bloodstained, I will definitely talk all about that. Lego Worlds was added,
Which is just kind of Lego Minecraft.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Like I while before the show aired, I actually went and watched the trailer for it, and I was like, fuck, this is just Lego Minecraft.
How does that work? So instead
of
of like chopping things down, do you build them up? It's like
you can,
well, they got two blues and
you
a
can
green.
like suck
so
up the world. You can build the world. You
Yeah.
can do all kinds of craziness with it. It's
I got a red and a yellow and a brown. That's a campfire.
no, I don't know how it gets into that because they didn't really show that aspect of
Right.
it. They just kind of showed that you can go anywhere. You can go into space. You can go into all the Lego places inside this game.
Why is Lego so awesome?
let's see here. For PC, they're getting City Skylines,
Yeah.
Saints Row 4. Jesus Christ, I can't talk today. Bad North and Dirt Rally 2.0. So those are the
Yeah.
upcoming for. Honestly, City Skylines, I've been looking at it and
Yeah.
I want to play it just because I love SimCity.
City Sims are
And
cool.
we just haven't had a good SimCity in a long time. I
Have
played.
you? Did you play the Frost one? Not, was it Frostpunk? Frost?
No, I've been wanting to
something?
play Frostpunk.
By the guys who did this War of Mine.
I love this War of Mine. It's so good.
Yeah, and apparently it's just like a pretty normal city sim, unless things start to go wrong, and then it's like this horrifying,
Dystopia.
like out in the wasteland dystopia where you're constantly making decisions about like, well, I could send 8 of these people out to get us food, but 7 of them will definitely die. But if I don't, like 14 children will be dead.
But
in a day.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
maybe
Yeah.
if you know that you're going to send 8 people out and 7 are going to die, you just take those 7 people and use them as food instead.
Well, maybe that's an option. I haven't played the game. I know it's dark as fuck, like
So,
this War of Mine.
They also announced that Game Pass itself, the app is going to be updated. Obviously,
Nice.
the app is new, so they're trying to figure out how to streamline it, make it
the
better.
Windows, the Xbox beta that they call it,
Yeah.
on that, that thing has been updated like every week since
Yeah.
I've installed it.
It has a lot of strange issues, and I had a really bad problem with it when I first installed it at home, but I was able to get on crazy Microsoft forums, and one guy in one forum, like 14 pages down, just had an instant solution, and I was like, oh my god, I need to find you so I can kiss you.
Yeah, and so
I love it when you find those.
They also
Yeah.
showed off a bunch of indie games are going to be coming to Xbox Game Pass. A game called Genesis Noir, Lonely Mountains Downhill, and Demon's Tilt was the one that I was kind of fascinated with because it's just a pinball game, but it's very much a pinball game. There was a game back in the Genesis era, and it was like called like Motley Pinball or something. It was literally a Motley Crue pinball game, and there was also another one that it was like Demon something pinball. And this game is basically just those all rolled up together.
Okay.
It's just like if you took Doom and made a pinball arcade cabinet, that's what this looks like. It's just like pentagrams everywhere and fire and brimstone.
I
and
still like playing my pinball games. I'm a little bit sad that like Space Pinball isn't installed in Windows by default.
Right.
anymore. Like we got fucking whatever Candy Crush bullshit. I'm like, no, put my fucking pinball game
Space
back
Cadet.
on. Yeah,
Yeah.
put Space Cadet back on there. I want original Solitaire
Yeah.
and fucking Space Cadet. Get rid of all this fucking Candy Crush bullshit. I don't want fucking microtransactions. The
I'm
fucking
just
app.
saying, bring back Sonic Spinball, you cowards.
Yeah, no shit.
That game was so much fun.
It was. So the one thing I did really like in the Xbox presentation was they showed a game called Felix the Reaper.
Yeah.
It's so adorable. Do go out and check out the trailer for Felix the Reaper. I can't tell you a whole bunch about it because it's really just like about being death, and like it's also about death and dying, and it has this kind of witty, fun charm to it that is very reminiscent of Grim Fandango.
Yeah, it was the one, like, usually, at least this generation, Microsoft hasn't really wowed me with a lot of their indies. They all seem like regular indie fodder rather than, like, the really creative stuff
This felt more like an Ori
from Steam.
This felt like an Ori in the Blind Forest.
Exactly. This one felt like it had that kind of warm character and personality that really draws people into a game, and that's just incredibly hard to quantify in a game. Like, you either have it or you don't.
Yeah, it's almost like a Guacamelee. That same, just it's so stylized. It has so much personality. It's very vibrant, and I really loved it. They did talk a little bit about Project xCloud, the fact that the beta is going to be coming out, and that you can opt into the beta right now. So that'll be interesting. They said that to opt into this, you need a wireless Xbox One controller and an Android device to do it, so that you can play things remotely, so you can do the console streaming.
So this is basically their version of Stadia. Right?
xCloud is going to end up becoming more than maybe Stadia is.
So I can stream it. I can just have an xCloud account and stream through my like Nvidia Shield and like play games.
So from one of the ways they explained it is that like the way that Project xCloud is going to work is say like streaming from your console. So say you have a console at home and it's got Gears of War 5 on it. It then becomes the server that streams to your phone or your Taco or whatever it streams to.
Gotcha.
It's starting. What's going to be starting off with was Halo 5 Guardians, Gears of War 5, Sea of Thieves, and Killer Instinct is what you can do. And those are an interesting range of games if you really break it down.
Definitely different. A good breadth of games.
Yeah, they're kind of trying to hit the gamut.
Do have
so you have
a lot of PvP aspects to them.
First person, third person, MMO essentially is Sea of Thieves, and a fighting game.
Yeah. All of which that's what I said. The PvP aspect is they have that interaction that where you don't want.
That's the Venn diagram.
Yeah, you want very low latency on all of these things. That's how they all connect, and that's really cool. These are Microsoft titles, obviously, and they are going to work with what they have.
Yeah.
Which is to be expected, and these are 4 fucking perfectly good examples of different types of games that everybody likes playing one of these genres.
And I feel like that's why they did that. They really ran the gamut to get somebody to please turn this on and try it, so that they can get the data that they need to find out if it's viable.
Whereas whenever Google did their test, it was just Assassin's Creed, and they're like, "Hey, you get free Assassin's Creed if you run this in your browser," and you're like, "That's cool and all," but people like me are like, fuck, I don't want a free Assassin's Creed. I never want to play that game ever. You might as well just be like, here, have a free boil. Just right to your neck. I'm like, no, I don't want that. Fuck you.
Lances,
could you fucking not Google?
They also announced some, 4 new characters coming to Gears of War 5. Obviously, content's going to be pouring out for Gears of War for a while.
The game just came out.
Dave Bautista is in the game. He's a limited time character, so you have until October 28th to unlock Bautista in Gears of War 5.
Yeah, I already have...
you want Drax the Destroyer.
Sarah Connor, old Sarah Connor from the new Terminator coming out, as well as...
And you're just playing this on Game Pass.
Yeah.
So you get to unlock this content on Game Pass.
Oh, yeah.
All of it's available.
Wow.
Yeah,
It is
I didn't have to pay for any of it.
It is a Microsoft Studios title, and they said all Microsoft Studios titles, I think with the exception of Halo, will be available date and day instantly if you're a Game Pass subscriber.
That's cool. I dig it. There's a pirate MMO called Atlas. It was on Steam Early Access last year. It's going to be coming out to the Xbox One on October 8th. And they're going to be doing content distribution on both the Xbox and PC simultaneously so that you're playing the exact same game on both platforms.
Nice.
Xbox One X and Xbox One S are going to have new bundles that'll have like Forza Horizon 4 and Lego Speed Champions, the expansion for Forza.
In case you want to buy an Xbox One right now.
Weirdly, all right, so actually one of the things I'm looking forward to is the Lego expansion for Forza when it becomes part of Game Pass.
Yeah, that's
so
cool.
Because if I've watched videos of the Lego version of Forza and I'm like, fuck, that looks ridiculously fun to play.
Like, you want to just install it and like drive like a couple Lego cars and be like, that's out of my system, but I'm glad I did it.
Yeah, like I'm willing to wait the like 30-40 minutes for the download and install and be like, cool, I did that.
Yep.
I might do it again. I don't know. Like, I'll just leave that there.
I remember when so Hector and I were talking in chat prior to these events going up, the Sony and Microsoft events, and we knew that the Sony one was coming up, and we were kind of talking about
Outbreak
that.
Day, man.
And I was like, Microsoft's doing one on the same day, and your literal response to this was, "What are they going to do? Talk about like Hitman 2?" I was like, I don't know. I guess we'll see. So they
I distinctly remember reading that. I was like, yeah, that's this is exactly Hector's prediction.
Right.
Came true.
So they ended their presentation with kind of just a series of trailers. They showed a game called Children of Morta that's on PC right now. It's going to be out on PS4 and
Super
Xbox
cool
soon.
looking game, by the way.
Code Vein, which I'm super excited about,
Yeah.
it's already out now actually. The Outer Worlds, which is their not Borderlands,
not Fallout. Yeah.
Yeah. After Party, which this one was shown on both the Sony and Microsoft ones.
Yeah, and that looks really fucking cool.
If
Wait,
you
I
haven't-
want to go back to Outer Lands real fast. Is that
Outer Worlds.
Outer Worlds, is that available on Game Pass, or is that just coming to Xbox?
I assume
I don't know.
it's a Microsoft exclusive, isn't it?
No.
I thought it's not?
It's definitely on PC also.
Okay.
But then again, they can still call that a Microsoft exclusive.
They can, so maybe it is on Game Pass. I haven't looked.
Either
But
way,
wait-
that's the one that I was really excited about for playing.
Yeah.
yeah, that might be a day and date Game Pass.
It
We'll
might.
see. After Party, if you haven't seen the trailer for it, do go look for it.
Yes.
Again, it's called After Party. It is a game in which two best friends die, and they end up in hell. And to get out of hell, they found a loophole which says, if you can beat the devil in a drinking game, you can leave hell. And you have to go through like all of the devil's family and beat them all in drinking games or various party events.
Right, so it's like the whole point of the game is like you and your friend who died, I think, at a party,
Yeah.
like end up in hell, and now the only way out is to out party Satan.
Yeah.
You have to
Okay.
like beat him at
And
party
these are,
games.
he's like, are these mini games?
Yes, the whole thing is mini
And
games.
is it more like Mario Party where I can get my friends together and we can all just try to beat the devil?
I'm not sure how much co-op is involved, but I know
Because-
it's like flip cup and beer pong and
Right.
all that type
Because
of stuff.
I honestly
And the
I know the
fascinating part
one
is
way to
2D.
win this game
Yeah.
already.
It's 2D.
It's 2D. It's pretty spritey.
The art is gorgeous.
Yeah.
There's
Like, it's
there's one way to win, and Bob Ross taught us this. You just get a paintbrush and you just beat the devil out of it. Like immediately, that's what my mind was like. We can win this game. It's going to require getting very drunk and having paintbrushes.
They showed a trailer for Tropico 6, Ghost Recon Breakpoint, which had a beta over the last weekend.
It did.
And
Ooh.
it had the full game coming out on October 4th.
Yeah.
It had...
That was a dumb choice to put that beta against the beta for Call of Duty.
Well, that game is not ready. Everyone who played the beta over this last weekend said, "Don't pre-order this game. Don't."
They,
Just wait 9 months till it's
Wait.
actually done.
Right. They also announced DLC for Ace Combat 7, the new map for DayZ, but more importantly, an expansion for Hitman 2.
Yeah.
The prediction came true. The thing that you were like, what are they going to talk about Hitman? There it was in our face.
Right.
Hitman 2.
So the elephant in the room at the time was like Sony had been talking about the state of play for weeks, and everyone understood that it was going to end with and be mostly about The Last of Us 2. So it's like, okay, Sony has something real fucking big to show. All right, let's all sit down, get our popcorn.
I mean,
and
it's
wait.
that time. The game's
It
coming
is.
out pretty soon. You expect them to do a
Yeah.
thing about the game.
Absolutely, and they announced it beforehand, so it wasn't a surprise, and everyone's just like, all right, popcorn's in the microwave, we're ready. And so seriously, like 24 hours before this event, Xbox comes out and is like, we got a thing. And so my entire thought process was like, no, you don't. You don't have a thing. You're going to show us all of the trailers that you have sitting in the back pile that you probably showed us at E3. And then they did that. And I was like, well, you know what? It's fine.
See, that's the thing is, like, I get your interpretation of that, but for me, when I was like, oh, they're doing another Inside Xbox, I was like, oh, it seems about time. They did
Yeah.
one about 3 months ago. They do one at least every 3 months with some
Yeah.
other things thrown in between there.
Yeah.
So to me, the date didn't matter. I was like, oh yeah, that seems like a day that they would do that. The
I
last
think it
one
was because-
was a little bit too far ago. It's time for another one.
So I don't know if you ever played The Last of Us, but
No, 'cause it
I'm
came
pointing
out-
at Tony Radio.
It came out on the PlayStation 3. That's the reason why I started
Yeah.
speaking of it. It came
Yeah,
out on the
yeah.
PlayStation 3, and then they did an HD remaster on the PS4.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to buy an older, shittier version of a game, and we didn't have a PS4. So I was like, cool,
waited.
I'm literally never going to play this game then.
Right. So
and now
the-
we do have it, and I do own it.
So the thing about the day, it was September 26th or 27th, is Outbreak Day every year. This the community of The Last of Us
Mondo,
celebrates.
which is
yeah.
a place that makes cool posters and art and soundtracks and shit. I literally, during this show, showed Hector something that Mondo sent me in my
Yeah,
email.
it was fucking
I was like,
cool.
here, take a look at this. They do a special deal where on Outbreak Day, they do Last of Us prints and music. They've done it for the past, 2 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Outbreak Day is a thing that the fans of the game, especially fans of the multiplayer game, who still exists to this day, get together and they celebrate. And Naughty Dog has always done a thing on Outbreak Day. If it's something as little as a tweet, but they usually will tweet out like, here's a new track from the new game, or like, here's a cool screenshot, or here's a little interview. Like, we got something for you on Outbreak Day every year.
Actually, Insert Coin is a UK-based clothing developer that makes video game themed clothing. So like if you're a Persona fan, you can get like the jacket to this fictional high school in Persona. But yeah, on Outbreak Day, they were like, or Outbreak Week, they were like, so here's the new Last of Us collection that you can pick up, and you can buy Joel's shirt. You can buy like Ellie's whatever. Like
that's the weird thing. Like, we were getting new high-end products about what would be traditionally considered niche geek culture. Things like specific video games, where we have a clothing designer company that makes specific things for video, like only video games. We have
all of your Destiny clothing I bought you came from that website.
Yeah, right. So I mean,
but we have like a place that does movie posters that is specifically putting out video game related soundtracks and posters. Like that's where I got the Journey one from. It was like, here, they also like the game Journey, apparently, while they like movies.
When you think about it that way, you think it's like, well, yeah, it seems like a niche place to actually like create clothing for. But that being
art
said,
and things for
when The Last of Us 2 comes out, it can expect to sell probably about 5 million copies, maybe lot more.
Yeah.
That's like low end. If 5 million people buy this game, you could probably expect to sell 500,000 shirts.
Yep.
I mean, that's where we're at now. So, I mean, it's a pretty good business model.
I am currently wearing a T-shirt that I know none of you can hear in Radio Land.
It's very hard to hear a T-shirt.
Right. Or see it in Radio Land. But I am wearing a shirt that comes from a website called Last Exit to Nowhere, where literally this whole site is dedicated to make shirts for fake brands for things. So if there is a fake brand in a movie, they've made a T-shirt out of it.
Yep.
And like it's my favorite, most fun website. And like they have one for like the pub from A Werewolf in London,
right?
The Slaughtered Lamb pub. They have all the. It's just a fascinating. So like
they should make some for Somi, which has been in every anime ever. Like, as they literally just stood like the N and like, and that's an M now, because they couldn't get the rights. But like every anime ever has had Somi as a company. So they definitely need to add that to their...
that's based on laws very specific to Japan. You might get sued for that in other places.
That is true. So let's we got into a clothing discussion. How weird. But yeah.
Okay, so the point I was making before we went off the rails was that when PlayStation announced this state of play, which they don't do on any kind of regular schedule, but it's usually every couple of months, at least 3 times a year, they announced it on Outbreak Day. So that was the first big clue about what we were going to see, and everyone goes nuts. So Outbreak Day was more of a reason for the thing to me than even the PlayStation State of Play.
Right.
So when I hear that Xbox is doing a thing, I got real cynical, like real fast, especially because it was like the day before. That being said, I guess we can actually talk about what Sony did now.
Yes, absolutely.
Which
before we talk about the big part.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that we kind of alluded majorly to the big part, which is The Last of Us 2.
Right. But there was a lot of stuff before that.
Which I had a question, like, before we get into that. I have a question about Last of Us 2.
Yes.
Last of Us, when we said I didn't play the first one, because it first came out on the end of the PS3's life, and I was like, new console's coming out, why the fuck would I want to buy this?
Right.
And then I didn't have access to that one. And I'm kind of doing the same thing with Last of Us 2. I'm like, yeah, the console's at the end of its life. Do I want to get this here? Or do I just want to wait and get the better version of it that's going to come out in a year?
Well, it probably won't be a year, but even if it is, I mean...
I'm expecting to be a launch title for the PS5.
It might be.
I think if they're doing a PS5 remaster, they're going to take their time with it.
Yeah, and not only that, but let's not forget that the game comes out in February, and you'll be real lucky to get a PlayStation 5 before December.
Right.
I'm expecting 2021 for both of them, honestly,
exactly.
at this point.
Yeah, for like an actual release, maybe Christmas 2020. Right. But
that's if Sony's really pushing.
Yeah. So I'm not going to wait that long. I'm not going to wade through spoilers or try to avoid them for a year.
Okay.
I cannot wait.
But for me,
to play
as a person
game.
who's kind of just been waiting even on the first one,
well, if I were you, I would just play the game in this place where you live that has access to the system. Because it exists here in this home you live in.
I'd have to find my controller.
And no one would be mad at you for playing it. In fact, they'd probably feel like it was a really healthy step for you as a human playing The Last of Us. It's a good thing.
Right.
I think
a game that makes you feel human.
Yeah.
See, that's the way I feel about Life is Strange. I'm like, everybody should play Life is Strange.
And I agree with you.
It's fucking amazing. Everyone's like, that game's dumb. a game.
No, Last of Us makes you feel things, and I
Yeah.
love that about it. Like when
That's
we
the reason
saw
why I like Life is Strange. You get to one point and you're like, or at least my storyline, because there's so many branching storylines.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Not sad, crying at
Yeah.
the choices I just had
haven't
to
been
make.
ugly crying for 15 minutes. Get out.
No, I even told Hector, like, Last of Us 2 comes out, I'll probably take that Friday off. Why? Because I need an entire day to just cry.
Yep.
Because that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to play The Last of Us 2, and I'm just going to cry, because that's what the game makes you fucking do. That being said, let's jump into Sony stuff.
Yeah.
Did they talk about anything other than...
They
Yes,
did.
quite a bit.
Absolutely, quite a bit. So they announced a limited edition Death Stranding PS4 Pro bundle.
Which makes me so mad.
Like, it's
Yeah.
Because,
like-
okay, the problem is that it's awesome, and I would actually be tempted to buy it if I wasn't at the end of this console's life cycle. As this was like year 2 of the PlayStation 4.
right. It's the print on it's beautiful. It
It's
has this
so
yellow
cool.
controller that
It
looks
has
Okay.
the controller
Guys.
looks like the little baby container.
No,
it's the same
it's not
color.
the little baby container. It's literally been dyed with Norman Reedus's urine. I'm
That's-
sorry.
and you know
That's
what?
why it's that weird yellow color.
That's fine. I don't care if
I mean, if
Norman
you're telling me
Reedus has
that
a
the
vitamin
controller-
A deficiency.
Look,
put it in my veins.
I don't care. I'm excited to play Norman Reedus and the Ghost Fetus, and I really want to just get that console. I just can't bring myself to buy one.
Yeah.
I just really want there to be a scene where like Norman Reedus like takes the like weird ghost baby thing and goes yeet and just chunks it like off the side of a
I
mountain.
wouldn't be surprised
Just
if that
yeet
was
the
an
fuck
option
out of that
somewhere in the
baby.
game. It might just end in like a Metal Gear Solid endgame screen if you do that. I don't know. It's Kojima. But yeah, they did announce that, and the controller was so cool that if they would let me buy that separately, I would've
Everybody
already,
has said that.
I would have
and-
already done it.
And that's the problem. They're not going to do it.
Nah,
it's
they-
Sony's
they're-
locking that shit down.
They're very persnickety about those because there was a really cool controller that came with the God of War PlayStation
Yep,
4
I
also.
remember that. It was a really cool controller. It's like because like the PlayStation's like I don't need a Pro, but that controller is really awesome, and
Yeah.
I'm not going to buy a $500 console for a $40 controller.
Yeah, exactly.
I can go on eBay and spend
I
$150.
think, honestly, console developers need to realize that
Yeah.
you know, do put out the limited edition console, but if it has a cool controller, just put that out. Like because
People are gonna buy it.
Like,
You'll sell so many.
Well, no,
If you
no,
were- if you
honestly,
told- if
they've
you-
been burned in this in the past. So many games have been like, we're gonna make a special edition controller. Very
almost
rare
like Call of
games
Duty,
need
though.
to do this.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
not every game needs to do it. But if you had told
but
me,
so many games during like the original Xbox and the 360 era did that,
They
and
did.
it failed
Right,
bad.
but
But like, I would probably have an Uncharted 4 controller. I'd probably have a God of War controller. I'd definitely be getting a Death Stranding controller in the mail soon.
Right.
Like, and I don't need those controllers. I have a PlayStation 4
what
controller.
what if
that
the
I
only
love.
way to get the controller was to pre-order the game?
For Sony exclusives, I probably would.
Yeah, I mean-
because
But like outside of that, like
Then
what about
no.
other games,
No.
where you're like that controller's amazing looking, but I have to pre-order the
Okay,
game.
so controller
Yeah.
stuff aside,
I'm just
we have
wondering,
we,
I'm just
we,
throwing it out.
we
I probably
have, we have
would.
to get through this. They actually opened the presentation with a game called Humanity. We know nothing about it. It looks really weird, super artsy. Looks like kind of reminds me of Lemmings. A little
Yeah.
bit. Yeah, it very much reminds me of
Oh, imagine
Lemmings.
that humans are lemmings. Huh.
So that looks interesting. They showed off more of the remake of the PlayStation 1 game Medieval.
yes.
Which looks gorgeous.
God,
I
it looks
loved
so cool.
I loved Medieval as a kid.
All right,
I
did
didn't
they give
realize
us like any kind of release date for that? Because
I think
I
it's
would
soon.
I would play Medieval
so
again.
first off, it is very soon. Second, there is a demo currently on the PlayStation Store that you can download, and if you play through the demo, you get a special helmet for your character.
I might need to play this.
You
So
should.
there you go.
Because I
That's
remember
an option.
I remember playing Medieval and I really liked it.
And like, it's October. It's a perfect time
Right,
to play
it's
Medieval.
Spooktober.
Yeah.
It's time to get spoopy.
It
We
is.
saw a game called Wadam, which is the next game from the director behind Katamari Damacy.
Yes. hmm
It just looks wacky.
I
Yeah,
think
it looks
anything
like
from anybody who worked on that game is just going to be fucking just acid trip chaos.
Yeah,
That's exactly what
I
it
mean,
looks
the game that we're talking about, for those who might not know, is about a little alien who rolls things
He
until
literally rolls up the universe.
It's like imagine a snowball, like a little bit of snow, and it gets bigger and bigger as you like roll it through the snow.
Imagine
and
that
then-
with like you
but,
had
like-
gummies on the floor, and you got to pick up all the gummies, and those gummies pick up all the Legos, and those Legos pick up all the boxes, and the boxes pick up the cat, and the cat picks up the house, and the house picks up the fucking city, and the city picks up the planet, and then you're rolling up a fucking universe, and it just gets too goddamn out of control.
yeah.
It's literally the plot line of Katamari. Like,
Yes,
that's-
to a just absolutely batshit soundtrack.
It was every version of Katamari that I've ever played. I've enjoyed the fuck out of.
And so this is just another game from that team coming
Yep.
to PlayStation. They showed off Arise: A Simple Story. It was a really cute, like little cartoonish, like
Yeah.
action.
It's a very
adventure game.
Sony indie. Sony picks their indies very specifically I mean, Journey is a really good example.
Yeah.
Sony picks their exclusives very specifically to invoke a like emotion. They feel like if you're going to get, I've heard, I think it was Kaz who said this, but if you're going to get into an indie game, if you're going to take the time and the like $15 and be like these games, since there are so many, really have to draw your eye. So Sony Entertainment really looks for the ones that people are going to go like, what is
Games
that?
like Journey.
Yeah.
There was the one that I don't think it was a Sony exclusive, but it was the one where you throw paint to get
Oh,
around
the
universe.
Unfinished Swan.
Yeah, Unfinished Swan. God, that game made me cry.
Yeah.
Fuck, man, that game was so good. Journey made me cry. Like, that was so good. Flower, another
Yeah.
one that, like, I thought, I was like, this is going to be dumb.
Yeah.
And then I took a bunch of drugs and played it, and then I cried a lot.
Yeah,
Like,
Flower
it's-
and Flow was the same way
Yeah.
for the PlayStation 3. They do really well in selecting their indies. They're not making them themselves, but they're grabbing the right ones.
Absolutely. One of the weird things that Sony showed during their presentation was LA Noire, the VR case file.
Yeah, that
need
one.
that?
No.
Wow.
Do we need,
Okay, so here's
did we
the
need
thing.
that at all?
So the problem was LA Noire was a very flawed game with a very cool idea.
Press
So-
X
yeah.
to doubt.
Yeah. So what they did was they took this flawed game and they're trying to make it something else in the context of VR by like keeping in all the interviews and streamlining all the really poorly implemented like cop shootouts and driving, and they're like, you know what, maybe he should just drive from inside the car. Maybe he should just shoot from in front of himself instead of awkwardly taking cover with our bad cover mechanics.
Right.
Because the game is literally about interviews.
Because we've,
I
we've
loved
never made a first-person
the
shooter
game-
before, and we don't know how this works.
The game is about interviews and like it's all about the expression on people's faces.
Yeah.
And so
because
when-
they recorded real actors
Yep.
and then digitized versions of them so they could get that nuanced feel. And I was super interested whenever that part of the game, like whenever I saw the like behind the scenes of LA Noire, that looked cool as shit. And then they show me gameplay. I'm like, that has nothing to do with the really cool fun part.
Right. So they're basically trying to make it more of a detective thing, and this only really works by recontextualizing the game in the frame of VR, which is a good idea. It's not going to sell me a VR set at all,
Yeah.
but I feel like people who have one might like this. It'll definitely be a unique experience, but
Yeah.
I didn't care.
And Sony really
Yeah.
doubled down on the VR. Like
They
during,
did.
during this presentation,
They're
they
not
showed,
giving up on it.
They showed a game called Aspire 1, a game called Stardust Odyssey, one called After the Fall, and the more important one, it's stupid as it is, Space Channel number 5 is making a comeback in the VR space. It's a weird dancing game. It's like in the early...
What the fuck is Space Channel number 5?
So think like the era of like when DDR was popular.
yeah,
Like
okay.
it was that. So it was a Dreamcast exclusive.
So that's why I don't remember
Right.
playing it.
That's why you don't remember playing it.
I mean, we played the shitload of that Dreamcast, but
There-
there were
Space-
very few titles you could get your hands on.
Space
Yeah.
Channel number 5 did, I believe, come out on other systems after the fact. That being said, it's a cult classic. It's one of those ones that you kind of evoke its name, and people that are fans of
the
it
one
are
that you
just,
look up on eBay and it's way too expensive.
right,
Like that type
yeah,
of
it's
game.
a really big deal. So yeah, Space Channel number 5, kind of this cult classic coming to PSVR. I think it's cool. If you're going to try and promote your console or get people encouraged to buy a VR headset, that's one of the ways to do it.
There's something that Sony's doing with VR where they're trying their best to keep it warm.
They are.
They know it's a loser and they know it's not going anywhere right now, but they
Yeah, they
really
spent
are.
a lot of money
They
in
are.
R&D and even just marketing money trying to keep that fucking
And
fucker
they're just
alive.
trying to keep it warm until it's actually viable. They probably might do a big push around the PlayStation 5 launch for like better VR, but that's a ways off, hopefully.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're not letting it die the way that a lot of the other platforms did.
Yeah. They also announced that Civ 6 is going to be coming to PS4. I believe that also got an Xbox time as well.
Probably.
I know that a lot of game developers listen to our podcast. Guys, Civilization sucks on consoles. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Basically, stop putting anything that requires any of the city building games, any civs, any Sim Cities, fuck even the Sims. Don't.
RTS
just fucking
games
hard pass that.
and hard simulation games do not belong on a 12.
That being said,
controller.
I did play a lot of SimCity on the SNES.
That's
Well, when
You-
you're
where
young
else
and you
could you
don't
have
have a
played it?
computer.
yeah. Unless you had an Apple IIe, you were out of luck.
Right. So the last of the big announcements was that the October PlayStation Plus lineup, which by the time this podcast goes up, you can get, is going to have MLB The Show 19 and The Last of Us Remastered.
Yep. Get in there and do
So they're
your
giving
crime
away
now.
Last of Us
Yes,
for
The Last
free.
of Us
For
is
free.
officially free.
I just feel like the MLB one is a bit shitty because it is a game full of microtransactions because it's one of those.
It's true.
It,
It's one of
it,
those.
it sports title
horrible.
microtransaction.
Yeah.
Just think about it. I mean, look,
I thought
they
just
literally
Forza
put
have a bunch
gambling
of
in fucking.
microtransactions too.
Yes.
And they give away Forza all the time. Like that's got a lot of microtransactions. So this isn't the Sony only thing.
No.
It's more.
Racing games do this too, except for I don't think Gran Turismo has a lot of microtransactions, but I couldn't be.
It's because only
about
one,
Oh, no, I'm
one Gran
specifically
Turismo
talking
comes out
about-
like every 10 years.
I'm
Yeah,
talking
exactly.
specifically about third-party companies making
yes.
sports
The
MLB
EA and the
games,
2Ks and
the 2Ks and all of that, put predatory microtransaction loot boxes into it.
Right.
Yes, Forza has a buy a skin for your fucking car, buy a fucking paint job. That is just buying a thing. Whenever you don't have to go,
It is a
hey,
microtransaction.
it is
Well,
a
the one-
microtransaction, but it's not. You know what? These tires, if you spend $5,000, you get 1% chance of maybe getting these tires, and you'll be able to go faster than everybody else.
Right. So
That's the shit that I'm talking about.
The one that the only reason Forza gets mentioned among the rest of these is because when the microtransactions came out, there was an absurd amount of them. I think people were expecting to be able to buy them all and be like, "I've got all the skins from a McLaren F1." No, you don't. That would cost you $8,000.
Right.
Is what happened. So they made a lot.
Well,
of
it's the
them,
same
and
thing
that's-
as Borderlands 2. If you
Yeah.
bought all of the fucking stupid shit Borderlands has, that would have costed you
yeah.
thousands and thousands of dollars for their micro DLCs. Fuck you. It's a fucking t-shirt. It's a microtransaction. Fuck you.
Yeah.
All right, so back to Sony.
Yeah, back to the subject at hand.
So we're wrapping up.
Yeah.
We're coming to the end of all of this, and then obviously the final thing that they ended the program with was The Last of Us 2. What were your impressions of the trailer they showed?
That was my impression. I
Yeah.
watched it and I breathe very shallowly while I watched this trailer, trying to figure out what was going on in the story, while also trying
They
to
definitely do not tell you anything.
Yes, and I was like, oh my god, what does that mean? Well, my brain was like, stop trying to figure out what that means. You don't want to spoil it for yourself by fucking coming up with theory
Dude,
crap.
the game's coming out really soon. Like,
No, it doesn't come out till February. I'm gonna play Death Stranding before that.
Yep, that's true. And that was
weirdly, yeah. Death Stranding was a game I was like 5 years.
Yeah.
for never seeing it.
It comes out in
and
November.
and that was the big announcement, right? The big announcement was February
Yes.
21st, 2020. Last of Us 2.
So the trailer it's all about Ellie. It showed a little bit of gameplay, but mostly, snippets from what you can expect some of the plot to be about.
Right.
They talked about how big this game is, which is the biggest game Naughty Dog's ever made, is what they're saying, which if you played Uncharted 4, I mean, this
big.
is going to be a very big game. And it's not open world, not like that, but it is just enormous. They were comfortable enough bringing the press in that day and letting them play 3 hours of the game. And when they said that seems like
it's relatively still early.
Yes, and
February is quite a ways away.
And they said, "Well, isn't that a lot of the game? Because Last of Us 1 was maybe like a 12-hour game
really is,
if you like stuck some time into it." So they're like, "You're letting us play like a third of the game right now," and they're like, "No,
Mine was
no.
more because I just wandered around and looked at
No,
things.
exactly. Like you could spend 20, 25 hours playing The Last of Us, but like you found everything. You platinumed that game. They said for this one, you can probably expect, 30 hours plus.
Yeah.
Which is just enormous for
that
for
is
the scale
that
of
is big,
this.
and
It's
this is
insane.
something we've talked multiple times in our boss rooms about. Is the scale of games versus the age of gamers.
Right.
I like to call it the value proposition.
Yeah, exactly.
And
the
there is
value proposition,
there is a good value about getting 30 hours into a game, but there's also something about playing something like Devil May Cry 5 where you can finish it in pretty much 12 hours.
Yeah.
And it comes down to what is my time worth versus what is this game worth versus what is my life ability
but
to have free
for
time
the
to
record,
play.
I'm using Xbox Game Pass, and that's how I got access to Devil May Cry. If you just thought about buying Devil May Cry, do support the developer. Do buy Devil May Cry 5. I say it's only 12 hours. I'm saying that as somebody who put in 12 hours, beat it, and wants to go back and play the fuck out of it more.
Right.
So,
and I think because you're right, there is definitely a value proposition, and I think it's all about the level of value you get from a game.
Yeah.
So if you gave me like if you made the Gears 5 campaign 30 hours long, I would definitely scoff at that. I'd be like, that's too long.
You're adding in
Right.
at that point like Fallout level side missions of I don't fucking want to do this. Why are you making me do this?
But if you told me that Cyberpunk was 120 hours, I'd be like, why only 120?
For me, I'm like, if Cyberpunk's 120 hours, I'm like, that's too much. That's too many side quests.
Right. So when
I don't want to do that.
Right, so I never wanted 100 hours of Red Dead Redemption 2, but I absolutely wanted 100 hours of, Cyberpunk and The Witcher.
Right.
So it all depends on the type of game you're playing, I think. And it is, I think, the best way to put it, and this is always happens in retrospect, is whether or not the game outstayed its welcome. That's what I love so much about the Spider-Man game. Is
it does not say
it was like a big open world game, and you're like, okay, here I am, but like 25 hours later, you're done, and you don't really expect that from an open world game. But that being said, back to the trailer and my impressions of it. The graphics kind of seem like a magic trick.
They do.
It doesn't seem real. Every time they roll.
Think about The Last of Us and it being on the PS3, and we're like, there's no way.
Yeah.
You were literally sucking every ounce of power out of that PlayStation. That's exactly how I felt about The Last of Us 2. It's like you spent so long making this game that you learn how to utilize every drop of power in the PlayStation 4.
I don't know if anyone in here played God of War, but like that gave me like a similar thing. Was like, man, Kratos looks good. Look at his skin. Look at the way he moves. They designed the fuck out of this game. A lot of this looks photoreal. The lighting's incredible.
Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah, Horizon Zero Dawn, absolutely gorgeous game. None of that compares to this. This looks like it gave me. Sometimes I got the feeling I was watching a TV show.
Yeah.
Like, that's how fucking crazy it looks sometimes.
Yeah, when Joel showed up, I was just like, holy shit. Like, you could just count the hairs on his beard.
Exactly. Just, like, staring into his face with, like, all the emotion
which is a big reveal,
right
by
on
the
his
way.
face. Yeah,
Up until this point, we had no idea that Joel was going to be
Yeah.
It's really good. Also, this isn't hitting the uncanny valley of, which is really a problem. Like, Kratos can get away with it because he's gray and has a big red mark. He doesn't really look human.
It's all credit to art design, because that's a thing that Naughty Dog has had a problem with in the past, with specifically the Uncharted series.
Yeah.
So that every once in a while, they either try too hard or make the game look too clean, and the characters don't look human in the right way anymore.
Yeah,
but,
it hits the uncanny valley. You're just like, not all right.
Yeah, but I didn't see that in the first Last of Us, and I didn't see any of that in this one. It was. Like their characters interact. There's a shared kiss among characters, and never did I think that looks awkward. I was like, oh,
is that the same one from the first when they showed it off at E3?
Which is actually one of the more impressive things to talk about. I know that we mentioned it when it first came out, but they showed during the initial Last of Us. They said it was in-game footage.
Yes.
They showed two characters kissing, and for the first time, I felt like in a video game ever, did it look like you were watching two people on screen kiss.
Yeah.
Because it always looks awkward and fumbly.
Yeah,
and like
these models don't go together right.
Yeah, they don't fit together. And you're like, no, that actually looks like you.
All those lips are doing the correct thing.
Right.
No, I mean, that's the thing is, I remember, my memory of seeing that at E3 was they also did the spin cut, which is the easiest way to cheat someone kissing. You get the close-up of like the lips near each other.
Right, but you get mostly the back of heads.
Yeah, but then you get the back of heads, because it is a way to treat, because your brain will literally fill in all of the gaps that you think happens during that scene, and it totally did not happen.
Yeah.
And that's just how filmmaking works.
And I think the big thing for me, aside from the kiss, when I'm talking about the animation, is there was a fight, just a regular, what looked like a normal fight in the game, and Ellie pushes someone back against the thing, dust falls from the ceiling and stuff falls off the wall, and she takes a knife and she cuts the person she's fighting across the cheek, and it leaves a trail across the person's cheek, an actual divot, just like right there where the knife was. There's a little red line. It looked like if I watched a YouTube video of someone cutting someone else with a knife, like that kind of recoil, you have like, ugh, that's what I felt when I saw that. And I'm very desensitized to video game violence. So that's the kind of like thing we're going for.
They added surgery into it. No, because I'm okay with like most violence in movies and TV shows and everything else. The moment you show me real surgery, I get creeped the fuck out. I go, nope, that's real. That's not okay. Don't like that.
Yeah. And I mean, The Last of Us has always done that. I remember when I finally got around to playing it, I picked up the remastered.
Yeah.
And it opens in Austin, Texas. And, this big cataclysmic thing happens, and you're watching like somebody die in front of you. And it's almost heart-wrenching.
It is.
It's so like you feel in the moment.
Yeah,
it's a praise to the writing, the directing, the artists who worked on it, and if they're bringing that kind of passion to The Last of Us 2, man, fucking bring it. You know what I loved about The Last of Us 2 getting it the remastered is I got the expansion, which was a completely separate story that takes place like before like a certain section of the game, and it still managed to like rip your heart out of your chest, make you feel empathetic towards these characters. and just gave you a little bit of backstory that you needed to keep the game going forward.
Yeah, if you just wanted like a little bit more, like that's kind of what it was. It was just a good
It was a
story
slice
that
of
they
life.
had to tell, which is what they kept saying and why they kept saying that. I remember when The Last of Us was over and everyone was like, well, when's The Last of Us 2? This is the greatest game they've ever played. And the developers were like, well, there isn't one.
Right.
We don't.
Did you not read the title?
Yeah, it's like we're not. Look, if we end up making another one of these games, these characters' stories are done. We finished them.
Right.
Like this is over. Obviously,
the
that's
liars.
Yeah, obviously that's not what came to pass. But what they said over
Again,
and
let's
over
open
again.
this giant door of money that you showed earlier that Disney had.
What they said over
Sony
and
has
over
one
again
too.
was that we will not make another game unless we feel like we have another story worth telling. And what the big impression that I got from this trailer is this is their story worth telling.
Yeah, absolutely. I think both presentations were pretty good. Like Microsoft had some like fun things to show.
Yeah.
There definitely Felix.
Felix the death to
Death
Felix,
or whatever.
something like that.
Was absolutely fantastic. Last of Us 2, brilliant. Can't
Yeah.
wait to pick that up. That might be a day one for me.
Yeah,
Might be a day one for
that'll
me.
be a few days off. Like download the night before.
Yeah,
sort of
absolutely.
thing for me.
And that's everything that we have for the show this week. Thank you for sticking with us. This was a great little fun, like kind of state of play Xbox Insider Xbox discussion. If you go out and watch those trailers and you have any opinions about them and want to talk to us about it, Tony, where can they do that?
Facebook.com/SolNerd. Like, share with your friends. Info@thesolnerd.com is our website. At the Surly Nerds, our Twitter. You can tweet us at that. SolNerd.com is our thing where you just stuff.
There are
Twitch.tv
reviews and things on it.
Yeah, twitch.tv/thesilly for Monday 7:30ish Central is when we do this live. We will be taking next week off, so that's good to remember. That so unfortunately, guys, we have to literally move.
We have to
pack up
set
and
up a
move
new
everything
studio.
that we own
You have
into a
to
new
pick
place.
up all the stuff we're recording with and take it somewhere else.
So we were like, you know what, we could, but let's just save ourselves the trouble of trying to do a half-ass show.
Yeah.
Let's full-ass another show.
yeah,
later
let's
on.
try and just use our whole ass later.
Yeah. So if you're gonna be waiting, sorry. Well, we're gonna be coming back in a week or so.
Yeah.
For you, follow us on Facebook and Twitter for the updates of when we're doing the shows
Yeah.
and our schedule. We'll have some memes for you in the meantime.
Yeah, and
you'll like
you
it.
know, if we do anything fun in between, we'll tell you about it when we come back.
Yeah.
Definitely. All right, so that's everything we have for the show this week. Definitely hit us up on Spotify, give us a like, show us some love, like pass us around.
Yeah.
You know, follow us on Twitter. I'm on Twitter.
I don't
all
want
the
to say
time.
like hit the subscribe and bell and all that bullshit that
But do-
fucking everybody
But
does.
do that.
But more so, do it to annoy the shit out of other people. Like it's like that's what I do. It's like share with your friends. Like, oh, I got friends that not gonna like this.
If nothing else, just expose us to people.
Yeah,
And I've said this for years. I like exposing myself to people. Like
There
it's
you
just
go.
fun.
as much as you can.
So until the week after next week, for Tony, this is James.
For James, this is Tony,
And I'm Hector.
Adventures. Good night.
and good game. Okay, I really need to pee.
I
Yeah.
do too.
Oh, and as for
Thank
what we're
you,
drinking,
Internet.
that's a Deschutes,
This is a Deschutes Fresh Haze.
Rosé cider.
and I was drinking a Carbic,
Carbic.
a Carbic,
A Hopdillo.
a Hopadillo. I don't like supporting them too much because
Yeah.
they got bought by Budweiser, so we try not to talk about how good their beer actually is.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I
we're
was
signing
expecting
off.
it to be bad, but it stayed good.
That's the thing is it's still currently good.
Yeah.
All right, I'm signing us off because I gotta pee.
Yeah.
So, Good night.
Night, Internet.